Welcome everyone. I noticed that over 70% of viewers aren't subscribed. If you're enjoying the content, please hit that subscribe button, it really helps the channel grow and keeps me motivated to upload daily. Thanks for subscribing, and now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1 Trapped in the Demon Sect. Forward. This is not your traditional grand love immortal, those who dislike harems should not enter. Read with your brain, the protagonist is not omnipotent, nor does he become invincible instantly. Many of his methods are limited, and he relies on gathering information to solve problems. Also, this story leans slightly towards ensemble writing, yes, that's right, an ensemble of clones. I hope everyone gives a lot of positive reviews. Yes, the author is boldly asking for positive reviews here, because those who give positive reviews will live to be 100 years old. The following is the main text. Lu Yuan, your talent is limited, and your cultivation has reached its limit. After the decision of the Miscellaneous Affairs Hall of the Northern Refinement Hall, you will be given a quota as a Dao soldier. 3 days later, ascend the corpse refinement platform. A middle-aged cultivator in black robes announced indifferently in front of the crowd, as if this was a good thing. But Elder Ma, my cultivation has already entered the first level of Juzan. Lu Yuan, in the crowd, questioned with a face full of unwillingness. Noisy. The middle-aged man waved his hand, and Lu Yuan was knocked down by a mysterious aura, turning several somersaults. As a handyman disciple, purchased by the corpse demon sect, he has always been regarded as a dispensable pawn by these elders. If the sect did not regard handyman disciples as property, such a confrontation with the elder would have resulted in him being killed at will. 3 days later, go to the corpse refinement platform yourself, disobey and die. After Elder Ma finished speaking, he turned into a stream of light and left. Damn it, is this a death sentence from the start? This period of time has been a nightmare for Lu Yuan. As a soul who transmigrated, even if he was just coasting in his previous life, life was only a little harder. He could save some money and occasionally reward himself. He could pick any of those cute and beautiful girls. But now, life is truly worse than death. The original owner of this body was secretly informed a few days ago that he was a reserve Dao soldier, and he was scared to death, which allowed Lu Yuan to take his place. Lu Yuan, this world is like this, just accept your fate. At this time, a handsome black-shirted young man came over to comfort him. He was a handyman disciple, purchased, at the same time as Lu Yuan, named Chen Yang. I am already at the first level of Juzan, why should I be a Dao soldier? The original owner of this body had been working hard to cultivate since he became a handyman a year ago, in order not to become a Dao soldier, but he did not expect the result to be like this. In fact, if it were an ordinary Dao soldier from a righteous sect, Lu Yuan would at most have just reached the end of his cultivation, and he would still be able to save his life. But what is a Dao soldier of the corpse demon sect? To put it nicely, it's a Dao soldier, to put it bluntly, it's a corpse soldier, a living dead person. On the corpse refinement platform, they must undergo 49 days of refinement. Those who can't withstand it will die, and those who withstand it will become Dao soldiers. The chance of survival is less than 10%. The benefit is that you don't have to eat in the future, you only need to absorb moonlight essence every day, and your status will also be improved, comparable to an outer disciple. This is fate. The black-shirted young man, Chen Yang, had decent talent and was already at the second level of Juzan, but if he didn't break through the third level of Juzan in the next year, he would still have to become a Dao soldier. Is this fate? Then why isn't Wu Yi from Rumjia, who hasn't even reached Juzan, going to be a Dao soldier? Isn't it because his name is Ma Debi? Lu Yuan looked indignant, but everyone knew why. Be careful what you say. Be careful that Ma Debi tells Elder Ma and gives you trouble. I'm not afraid of anything. You wait, before I die, I will give that Ma Debi a piece of my mind. Lu Yuan no longer had any scruples. Once he entered the corpse platform, he would either live or die. He had already resigned himself to death. While he still had a few days left, he would get his face back even if it meant dying. It's time to work, let's go move today's corpses first. Chen Yang looked at Lu Yuan eagerly. Handyman disciples are called disciples, but in reality, they are a group of servants who do dirty and hard work in the corpse demon sect. And now, Lu Yuan has received the decree to ascend the corpse refinement platform. If he doesn't go to work, any punishment will naturally be meaningless. But Chen Yang is not. The two of them are a team. Even if he does all the work by himself until tomorrow, he may not be able to finish it. That's why he came to comfort him. Lu Yuan saw through the black-shirted young man's little thoughts at a glance. Out of shared experience and because this black-shirted young man was someone who could somewhat speak up. Even if he was unhappy, he replied, "Let's go. Comma comma. Comma comma. Comma comma." The emerald peaks deeply hide the ancient path, the summit of the corpse sect reflects the clouds. At the edge of the cliff, the steep walls were like shui, as if with a force of 1,000 jun, pressing down on people's hearts. Lu Yuan and Chen Yang were cautious, slowly walking down a small path next to them. The path was narrow and steep, with jagged rocks under their feet, and the sound of wind whistling in their ears, making people feel frightened. A little carelessness could lead to falling into the abyss. Before long, they were about to reach the bottom of the cliff. The further down they went, the thicker the poisonous fog became. Both of them had already put on special masks to prevent the poisonous fog from invading their bodies. "This poisonous fog is really deadly," Lu Yuan complained. Chen Yang shrugged helplessly. "Who told us to have a hard life? We can only do this kind of work. If we had a flying Zon treasure, we wouldn't have to be so troublesome, we could just fly down to transport the corpses," Lu Yuan said resentfully. "Stop dreaming, how could we possibly have that kind of Zon treasure?" Chen Yang smiled bitterly. Arriving at the bottom of the cliff, what came into view was a terrifying scene. Corpses lay scattered on the ground, some were already disfigured, and some maintained expressions of horror. These corpses were either male or female, old or young. They were all materials, purchased by the corpse demon sect from the mortal world. The task of the two was to move the dropped materials to a treasure land. There are 3 main peaks in the corpse demon sect: Tao Soldier Peak, Corpse Peak, and Blood Demon Peak. Each peak has 3 halls, and each hall has such a place. This is the corpse burial cliff of the northern refinement hall under the Tao Soldier Peak. Lu Yuan and Chen Yang looked at each other. Without needing to say much, they tacitly began to move. One head, one foot, they had been moving like this for 2.5 years, and they worked very well together. Dong, dong, dong. Just then, a series of jumping footsteps suddenly came from the front. The two looked at each other, and both saw the horror in each other's eyes. In a place like this, the poisonous gas and corpse gas are extremely heavy, and no one would come. There is only one situation that can make such a sound. Could it be a corpse transformation? Very likely. Let's go. The two put down their work and turned to run. However, the retreat was already covered with denser poisonous fog, and they couldn't see the road at all. As the footsteps got closer and closer, Lu Yuan could clearly feel Chen Yang trembling beside him. Just then, a black shadow suddenly leapt out of the poisonous fog and stood in front of the two. He was covered in thick black hair, his fingernails were as black as ink, slender and sharp, and in his ferocious face, a pair of empty eye sockets flickered with a faint green light. Lying corpse. The two exclaimed, the so-called lying corpse is the lowest level of zombie. It has no thoughts and acts on instinct. Roar. The lying corpse let out a low roar, and the stench of the stench rushed towards them. Chen Yang's reaction was extremely fast. Almost instinctively, he pushed Lu Yuan towards the lying corpse, while he turned and ran, his speed was astonishing. "Chen Yang, you son of a bitch." Lu Yuan cursed, but at this moment, he didn't have time to think too much. The lying corpse's target was not him, but went straight to Chen Yang, apparently more interested in fleeing prey. Poochie. With a muffled sound, the lying corpse's black and long fingernails, like sharp blades, instantly pierced through Chen Yang's chest. Chen Yang didn't even have time to scream before he fell softly to the ground, blood gurgling from the wound. Lu Yuan stood on the spot, his body stiff, his mind blank. He watched helplessly as the zombie bent down and greedily sucked Chen Yang's blood, making a chilling swallowing sound in his throat. It's over. Lu Yuan felt despair in his heart. He knew that once the zombie finished sucking Chen Yang's blood, the next one would be himself. Escape. This valley filled with poisonous fog, there is no way to escape. Fight it. Lu Yuan gritted his teeth, a hint of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. He circulated the little Zon power left in his body. Although he had never learned any Zon techniques, he could only bite the bullet at this moment. He bent down and picked up a sharp stone and smashed it hard at the zombie's head. Bang! The stone hit the zombie's head, making a muffled sound, but the zombie seemed to be unaware and continued to greedily suck blood. Damn it! Lu Yuan's heart sank. He knew that with just a stone, he couldn't hurt this zombie at all. Since I can't escape, then I'll fight you to the death. Lu Yuan suddenly pounced on the zombie, gathering all the Zon power in his body on his fist and smashing it hard on the zombie's back. Boom! The fist blessed with Zon power weighed hundreds of pounds, and the zombie staggered from the punch, and the black air scattered. It let out an angry roar, its hands pulled out of Chen Yang's body, and it struggled frantically. Lu Yuan couldn't care less about the fear, he hugged the zombie tightly, and punched it again and again on its back. Every punch was with all his strength, as if venting all his fear and anger. Bang, bang, bang. The black air on the zombie's body became thinner and thinner, and the strength of its struggle gradually weakened. Finally, with a muffled sound, the zombie crashed to the ground, turning into a pile of rotten flesh. Lu Yuan gasped for breath, his body covered in cold sweat. He glanced at his fist, which was covered in black blood and rotten flesh, exuding a nauseating stench. Chen Yang, you bastard, Lu Yuan smiled bitterly, his heart filled with mixed feelings. If Chen Yang hadn't deserted, the two of them working together might not have ended up like this. At this moment, a message suddenly came into Lu Yuan's mind. Chapter 2, Strange Blessing. Open black lens bracket acquired 1 point of undead fate close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket eerie blessed land unlocked, close black lens bracket. Who is it? Lu Yuan was startled, but then realized that the voice in his mind was not coming from outside. He rubbed his temples, thinking he was just hallucinating from the pressure. However, the next moment, the world flipped, and the scene before him was no longer the bottom of the cliff. Open black lens bracket first entry into the eerie blessed land, granting 10 points of fate, close black lens bracket. The information came again. Before Lu Yuan was a strange and bizarre space of 50 to 60 zhong. The silence and eeriness made people feel cold. Dusk was deep, and there was no sign of life. Here was a tree and a wooden house. The space was not large, and everything was visible. However, time did not seem to have left any traces here, and it could not hide a strange aura emanating from within. On the dilapidated wooden door of the wooden house, rows of strange symbols seemed to wriggle like living things, flashing with a faint light. They were arrangements and combinations of ancient hieroglyphs, but Lu Yuan could understand the information on them. Open black lens bracket Lord of the Eerie Blessed Land, Lu Yuan close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Lifespan, 1646 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Talent, none fate can be consumed and shared with clones close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Realm, gathering profound level 1, 0/100ths can absorb clone cultivation to improve close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Root Bone, inferior grade can consume fate to obtain from clones close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Cultivation method, body tempering art can consume fate to obtain from clones close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Spell, none fate can be consumed and shared with clones close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Clone, none close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Fate, 11 points close black lens bracket. Note, fate can be consumed to create clones. The level of cultivation can be controlled, but it cannot be higher than the Lord of the Blessed Land. Different realms of clones consume different amounts of fate. For the Gathering Profound Realm, the minimum is 5 points, and each level increase adds 5 points. When Lu Yuan saw this panel, his heart shrank suddenly. Then, the information seemed to be directly imprinted on his retina. This is a golden finger. Why didn't it come sooner? He touched the wooden door and could feel its reality. He saw another message appear on the wooden door. Open black lens bracket Refining a non-ranked realm clone costs 5 points of fate close black lens bracket. Lu Yuan was stunned. How long does it take to refine a clone? Will the appearance be the same as mine? Open black lens bracket Refining a Chi Gathering level 1 clone takes 1 day close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket The appearance can be customized according to requirements close black lens bracket. Immediately refine 2 clones. Open black lens bracket Consuming 10 points of fate close black lens bracket. The bald tree, which originally had no leaves or fruit, suddenly bore 2 fruits, which were constantly growing larger. Lu Yuan could even see the embryos forming inside. These are clones. They actually established a connection the moment they appeared. Lu Yuan felt the connection established between the clones and himself through this eerie blessed land. After staying for a while, he felt that it was still early for the clones to come out, so he wanted to leave and asked, "How do I get out?" As soon as he finished speaking, the scene before him was like a shattered mirror, instantly reassembling, and the desolation of the cliff bottom reappeared. At this time, Chen Yang was already dead here. Lu Yuan walked up to him and took out a wooden plaque from his arms with the words, 423, written on it. This was a wooden plaque representing the identity of a handyman. He left it behind, intending to have his clone impersonate Chen Yang. He also took out some broken profound crystals and buried them in the corpse burial ground. Chen Yang, I didn't do anything to betray you. Blame yourself. Lu Yuan said to the grave burying the black-shirted youth. After entering the sect as a handyman disciple, he didn't have a name, only a number. But the two had a good relationship, and Chen Yang told Lu Yuan his name. After doing all this, he looked up at the sky. It was already dim, and the sun was on the edge of the mountain. Only half of the corpse moving work had been done. The corpse burial cliff after dark is extremely dangerous. I must leave quickly. Lu Yuan was very worried. This was common sense as a corpse mover. He walked along the rugged path towards the cliff. The residence of the handyman was a row of stone houses. The appearance was simple and unadorned, standing there in rows. The narrow windows let in light, making the stone houses even more secluded. Returning to his residence, he fell on the bed to rest. The sky was dim, and night fell. He could hear the roaring sounds coming from the distance. This was the Tao soldiers, feeding, and absorbing the essence of the sun and moon. Lu Yuan had been unable to sleep for a long time due to the influence, so he simply moved his mind and came to the eerie blessed land in his mind. It was as always, grayness shrouded the surroundings, and the air was filled with an eerie aura. Everything was silent, as if even time had stopped. This blessed land is clearly called a blessed land, an independent space, but why is the environment so gloomy and eerie? Feeling that the temperature here was not cold, Lu Yuan simply brought over the bedding and fell asleep. The next day at noon, at the handyman's residence, the sun hung high. Lu Yuan, who slept until he woke up naturally, came out of the eerie blessed land. With this space, he was obviously no longer in mortal danger, but being in the corpse demon sect, it was extremely difficult to leave. The managing disciple didn't come to find me. Lu Yuan found that the door of the stone house was tightly closed and had not been opened. Obviously, no one had visited. The working hours had already passed, and the managing disciple would have questioned him on weekdays, but today was unusually quiet. Presumably, it was because he was about to ascend the corpse refining platform, and the managing disciple didn't want to be contradicted by Lu Yuan and Lu's face. Suddenly, a knock sounded on the door. This managing disciple is really not afraid of death. I'll argue him to death. Lu Yuan got up and opened the door. Standing outside was a female cultivator with a plump figure. This was Lu Yan, a handyman disciple who entered the demon sect at the same time as him, numbered 425. She was also the second name Lu Yuan knew, because the original owner, Chen Yang, had a very good relationship with her. Moreover, her talent was acceptable. Her inferior grade root bone had now reached the Qi gathering level 3. Lu Yuan frowned slightly. Lu Yan, what are you doing here? The plump female cultivator rolled her eyes at him. I heard that you are going to ascend the corpse refining platform, so I came to see. It's a pity that although I am about to be promoted to an outer disciple, I still have to wait for a while, otherwise there might be a chance to save you. Lu Yuan snorted coldly, then congratulations to you. The plump female cultivator Lu Yan walked into the house, looked around, and said, you are about to ascend the corpse refining platform. Considering that we entered the corpse demon sect together, why not help me? Lu Yuan's heart was clear. I don't know what you are talking about. Lu Yan's mouth curled into a smile. HMPH, don't you want to have some fun before you die? Immediately, she twisted her buttocks and leaned closer to Lu Yuan. Come on, have some fun. Even if you die, you can be a thorough ghost. If you really become a Tao soldier, it seems you can't do that kind of thing anymore. Lu Yuan moved to the side, easily avoiding the plump female cultivator's approach, and said with a cold face, you just want my Yuan Yang. I won't easily give it up. Lu Yan's face sank, and then she put on a charming smile. 426, don't be so unromantic. Tao soldiers don't need that thing anyway. Lu Yuan's eyes were like torches, unmoved. You still want to trick me into giving it to you. I'd rather hit it on the wall than give it to you. A day ago, he might have compromised under the threat of death, but now that he has found a way to break the situation, how could he easily waste his Yuan Yang? Lu Yan's smile gradually froze, and anger flashed in her eyes. HMPH, you don't appreciate kindness. Don't think you are so noble. Since that's the case, don't blame me for using force. Before she finished speaking, she moved and pounced on him. The bed trembled, and Lu Yuan was instantly knocked down on the bed. Lu Yan's eyes were resolute. She took out a tempting pill from her arms, its surface glowing, but secretly containing spring. It was the legendary spring-inducing pill, also known as an aphrodisiac. She forcibly pried open Lu Yuan's mouth and poured it in. Lu Yuan moved his mind, and the moment the pill entered his mouth, it was transferred to another eerie world. When Lu Yan saw Lu Yuan swallow the pill, a smug look appeared on her face. 425, how is it going? Just then, a burst of footsteps suddenly came from outside. It turned out that the managing disciple had arrived. Senior brother, wait a little longer, almost. Lu Yan anxiously waited for the effects of the medicine to take effect, but after a while, she found that Lu Yuan had no reaction and couldn't get it up. In a trance, Lu Yuan circulated his profound power and pushed her away, shouting, "Managing senior brother, are you looking for me?" He tidied up his clothes and walked outside. Chapter 3, The Clone. 42-6, you're about to ascend the Tao platform, why aren't you willing to enjoy yourself? Seeing that it was Lu Yuan who came out, the supervising senior brother was very surprised. Senior brother, I want to preserve my Yuan Yang. Even if I ascend the Tao platform, I want to maximize my chances of becoming a Tao soldier and be useful to the sect. Lu Yuan wore a righteous expression. This left the supervising senior brother speechless. In the past, those who were about to ascend the corpse refinement Tao platform all looked like they hated the corpse demon sect to the core. He had never seen someone like Lu Yuan before. Die for the sect. Only disciples brainwashed by the hypocritical orthodox sects would do that. Most cultivators in the demonic sects are controlled by the sect, and no one would sacrifice themselves for the sect. Not bad, the sect needs talents like you. I am willing to dedicate everything to the sect. Alright, I'm looking for you to ask where 42-3 went after working with you yesterday. The supervising senior brother was clearly not there to do ideological work on Lu Yuan. Senior brother, I don't know. Lu Yuan would naturally not say that 42-3 was already dead. He was refining two doppelgangers in the strange blessed land, planning to have the other doppelganger impersonate 42-3. This kid actually dares to skip work. Good, I'll make him suffer when he gets back. The supervising senior brother said fiercely. Lu Yuan was expressionless, his heart like still water. This supervising senior brother was known for being narrow-minded, vain, and cold-hearted. And that Lu Yan must have given him some benefits to get the chance to seize Lu Yuan's Yuan Yang. In the past 2 years, he had used similar methods to collect a lot of benefits from the handyman disciples. After asking without success, he turned around and left directly. Just then, a charming female voice came. Yo, can a handyman disciple produce a talent like you? The plump female cultivator Lu Yan, sticking out a large expanse of snow-white skin, swayed her big buttocks as she walked out. Lu Yuan's gaze never lingered on this young woman, and he said indifferently, "Get lost." Lu Yan fixed her eyes on him, sized him up, and said, "Damn it, I didn't expect the pill refinement hall to sell fake medicine. I'm going to settle accounts with them." The Pill Refinement Hall was a place under the jurisdiction of the Northern Refinement Hall that sold pills. Even demonic sects would give handyman disciples some resources to buy pills. Seeing Lu Yan leave, Lu Yuan returned to the house again. It had only been a few days since he transmigrated, and the things that had happened were more exciting than his entire previous life. Lu Yuan had never seen the infighting of the orthodox cultivators, but he had seen a lot of the ruthlessness and cold-bloodedness of the demonic cultivators. To survive, one would become like this. In the inherited memories, Lu Yuan could see the once shy woman and the bashful young man. Now, one had already died in the corpse burial cliff, and the other had become a coquettish, scantily clad enchantress. Either pushing himself to his death or wanting to seize his Yuan Yang. Shaking his head, Lu Yuan's mind moved, the world turned upside down, and he came to the strange blessed land. He sat cross-legged and began to cultivate the mysterious art, body forging technique. This was a cultivation method bestowed by the corpse demon sect upon entry, capable of reaching the 9th level of gathering Zan. I can actually cultivate. Lu Yuan was overjoyed. According to his reasoning, this was a separate space, and there should be no Zan Qi. However, it seemed that he could still absorb Zan Qi from outside the space. If cultivators want to cultivate, they cannot do without Zan Qi. If there is no Zan Qi, they can only use Zan crystals instead. Half a day passed. The bald tree that had been nurturing the doppelganger all along seemed to be shaken by an invisible force at this moment, trembling violently, and the surrounding strange aura also seemed to enter the bald tree in the trembling. Lu Yuan, who was cultivating by running the cultivation method, also stopped cultivating. Small words appeared in front of the retina in his eyes. Doppelganger refinement complete. Please customize the appearance. How to customize? 4 consecutive hours of cultivation had made Lu Yuan feel a little tired. He rubbed his eyebrows and looked at the information in the corner, asking, "Imagine it in your mind." Lu Yuan immediately imagined his own image first, and then imagined the black-shirted teenager 42-3. Appearance customization successful. The moment the information appeared, 2 fruits fell to the ground and turned into human figures. Haha, is this tree a human fruit tree? Lu Yuan stepped forward and saw that one of them was no different from himself, and the black-shirted teenager was exactly the same as in his memory. What was even more amazing was that he could share the vision of these 2 people, and with a thought, he could instantly make these 2 people perform the same actions. It really is a doppelganger, but it seems that it doesn't have its own consciousness, and the aptitude of the doppelganger is the same as mine. I thought I could improve myself by copying from someone with a higher aptitude. He sighed leisurely in his heart. But at least he can control them, and he has someone to die for him, so he doesn't have to die. Do you want to consume 10 points of destiny to split the divine soul? This information stunned Lu Yuan. The divine soul is indispensable. From the moment he stepped into cultivation, the first chapter of the body forging technique told him that if it was missing, he would no longer be able to cultivate. After thinking for a while, he asked, will it cause harm to me and affect my cultivation? The split of the divine soul is related to the host's realm and will not cause harm. The host's current realm can only split 1 divine soul. So that's how it is, but there is no destiny left. After refining 2 doppelgangers, all the destiny had been used up. Fortunately, he already knew that he could obtain it by killing creatures with cultivation. After careful study, Lu Yuan saw a change in the doppelganger column in the information on the wooden door. Gathering Zon first level doppelganger, unnamed. Note: when the doppelganger's cultivation is insufficient for the gathering Zon first level, it will be directly promoted to the first level. Regarding the detailed explanation of this strange blessed land, Lu Yuan nodded and immediately named the doppelgangers. The one with the same appearance as himself was named 42-6, and the one like the black-shirted teenager was named Chen Yang. These were just code names, but in reality, they were both Lu Yuan's doppelgangers. And after naming them, a message came from the strange blessed land. Doppelganger Chen Yang, activate strange talent. The sudden voice startled the main body Lu Yuan in the strange blessed land and immediately asked, what is a talent? Strange talent is a certain probability that a doppelganger will be born with after absorbing the aura of the strange blessed land at birth. What kind of talent did the Chen Yang doppelganger awaken? No leakage, reverse absorption. What effect does it have? Seal oneself off. During dual cultivation, one does not leak one's own cultivation but instead absorbs the other party. The Chen Yang doppelganger's talent is very suitable for the demonic sect. After thinking for a moment, Lu Yuan suddenly reacted. After facing Lu Yan's demand for Yuan Yang, he hated this kind of behavior to the core. Now, he finally had a way to punish these demonic women. After checking again, he threw the doppelganger out of the strange blessed land. In the room, 42-6 could move around and muttered to himself, all kinds of feelings are like being there in person, not much different from the main body. And the Chen Yang doppelganger on the side opened his mouth and said, but it's very troublesome to control 2 bodies. The transmission of information is too frequent. Yes, this feeling is like playing MOBA games in the previous life, where you have to control one person to control 2 hero characters. 42-6 also spoke. The conversation between the 2 seemed fluent, but it was just Lu Yuan practicing switching back and forth between the perspectives of these 2 people. After a night of mastering it, he could basically control the 2 bodies to have conversations and do simple work. Early the next morning, the black-shirted teenager Chen Yang went out early to work. He was scolded by the supervising senior brother and had half a month's worth of cultivation resources deducted. But this was no longer important to Lu Yuan. He was very happy that none of these people had discovered that 42-3 was no longer the former 42-3. Only the drop in the black-shirted teenager's cultivation still attracted everyone's attention. In one day, the Chen Yang doppelganger completed his labor task very well and returned to the room to rest. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 4 This is my mission. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed, and the day to ascend the corpse refinement platform arrived. As dawn approached, the northern refinement hall was bathed in a faint twilight. As the first hall of the Dao Soldier Peak guarding the northern part of the corpse demon sect, it was exceptionally solemn here. It was heavily guarded, and these soldiers were all refined by bearing Dao pacts, giving off a sense of bloody slaughter, like ruthless puppets. At the foot of the mountain, Lu Yuan ascended the stone steps one by one, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the empty mountains. A gentle breeze caressed his face, bringing a chill. Lu Yuan reached the summit and took a long breath. What came into view was a grand hall shrouded in scarlet mist, its bricks and tiles seemingly soaked in fresh blood, making it hard to tell whether they were naturally blood red or stained by the sedimentation of time. On either side of the hall's entrance stood two Zon cultivators with purple skin, clad in heavy armor, their eyes cold and piercing, causing a chill to run down one's spine. Who goes there? Yi grade room of the Miscellaneous Affairs Office. Seer Lu has come to report for duty, to ascend the corpse refinement platform. Enter. The two Zon cultivators stood like puppets, remaining stiff and unmoving from beginning to end, not even turning their heads to look at the person who came. Lu Yuan knew that these were Dao soldiers in the mid-stage of gathering Zon refined by the Northern Refinement Hall, living puppets. The interior of the hall was dark and dim, with heavy shadows, as if countless ghosts and specters were lurking in the dark, making one's hair stand on end. Glug. In the center, a blood-red pool shimmered with a strange light, occasionally bubbling up, the cold aura assailing the face, causing one's heart to palpitate incessantly. Around it were four huge black iron pillars, adorned with various Zon beast patterns, emitting powerful Zon energy. He knew that this was the place where living puppets were refined. It was the corpse refinement platform. Save me, let me die. In the pool, there were dozens of Zon cultivators being transformed into Dao soldiers, one of whom looked at Lu Yuan in great pain, muttering to himself. He seemed to be begging for death, yet also pleading for help. This was what it meant to enter the corpse refinement platform, where one's fate was determined by heaven, not oneself. You've arrived. Beside the pool, an old man was waiting, greeting Lu Yuan, as if he were an acquaintance. Disciple is here on orders to enter the corpse refinement platform. Lu Yuan regarded death as going home and saluted with clasped hands. Oh, you're not afraid of death. The old man was also seeing such a calm young man for the first time and couldn't help but ask curiously. What if I am afraid? This is my mission, Lu Yuan replied with a firm face. Upon hearing this, the old man was dumbfounded. This appearance of generously sacrificing himself was exactly like a righteous person, pointing at the pool and saying, then go in yourself. Lu Yuan took a deep breath and nodded. Yes, although I have no choice, I believe that I will definitely be able to become a Dao soldier through refinement. Then, he leapt and jumped into the blood pool. Such a grand scene directly stunned the old man guarding the blood pool. The old man smiled strangely. Strange, there are all kinds of people these days. The process of refining Dao soldiers was exceptionally complicated and extremely bloody, causing living people incomparable pain. It required selecting superior materials, such as rare ores, spiritual wood, etc., and even more, using living creatures as materials, throwing them into the blood pool to transform into a kind of Zon blood. Then, using secret methods to inject Zon energy into it, Zon cultivators would inevitably face great pain after entering the blood pool. During the refinement process, the Zon blood would also constantly adjust the Zon cultivator's body shape and structure, making it conform to specific Zon method requirements. At the same time, several kinds of talisman arrays were formed on the Dao soldier to enhance its power and defense. And the Zon cultivator would feel as if they were being burned by true fire, and their souls would also feel the same pain. Such a process would have to go through 49 days before it could be completed. The entire refinement process required a lot of time and effort, and once the body or will could not withstand it, a slight mistake could lead to failure and death. However, once the refinement was successful, the strength of the living puppet Dao soldier would greatly increase. Generally speaking, it would be at least in the mid-stage of gathering Zon. In the strange blessed land. After the clone seer Lu jumped into the corpse refinement platform, Lu Yuan directly withdrew his control, so he couldn't feel any pain at all. However, at that moment, the strange suddenly popped up a message. Clone seer Lu's cultivation is increasing. Do you want to absorb the clone's cultivation? The sudden message made Lu Yuan overjoyed. Was there such a good thing? Then let's try it, absorb. In an instant, the strange blessed land began to change, building some kind of bridge with the clone seer Lu, constantly absorbing the cultivation that was being absorbed and integrating it into Lu Yuan's body. Cultivation points +1. Cultivation points +1. Cultivation points +1. In just 3 hours, the cultivation bar increased by 3 points. Lu Yuan calculated that, adding his own cultivation, he would be able to break through to the second level of gathering Zan in less than 8 days to reach 100. It should be known that the original body took a year to become the first level of gathering Zan, and now it only took 8 days to reach the second level of gathering Zan. With such talent, even the corpse demon sect would be reluctant to use it to refine Dao soldiers. Lu Yuan sat down cross-legged. As long as he was in the strange blessed land, he didn't have to worry about cultivation. His consciousness transferred to the San black-robed youth clone, and the main body could also increase cultivation. However, after absorbing 10 points of cultivation, he couldn't absorb any more. It seems there are still restrictions. There's so much blood, it's a waste not to absorb more. Lu Yuan was a little regretful. It was rare to be able to fleece the corpse demon sect. Do you want to transfer cultivation to clone Chen Yang? It could be operated like this. Lu Yuan immediately agreed. He absorbed 10 points of cultivation every day, and the clone members absorbed 2 points. Seer-san, here. Today you and Seer Wu will go to work together to dry medicine. The senior manager arranged. Could it be that Lu Yan tried to force me that day and has set her sights on the Chen Yang clone? Lu Yuan, whose consciousness had descended, immediately realized that something was wrong. All along, Seer Wu, as a prospective disciple about to enter the outer sect, did not have to work. The miscellaneous affairs office occasionally had fresh blood joining, and at the same time, every month, one Zan cultivator who had not entered Qi gathering would be selected to ascend the corpse refinement platform. However, for the past few months, the miscellaneous affairs elder Ma Kui's nephew, Ma Debi, had been at the bottom and had not entered gathering Zan, so they skipped him and directly selected gathering Zan first level. As Chen Yang, whose realm had fallen to the first level, it was obvious that he would be the next one to ascend the corpse refinement platform next month. That's why he was taken by the senior manager to give away favors. It was obvious what painful things the black-shirted youth Chen Yang was about to face. In front of a row of simple stone houses, medicinal herbs were everywhere, fragrance overflowing. 2 figures appeared. Chen Yang saw that there were few people here, and understood that this was simply tailored for something. That Lu Yan quietly approached, her big eyes flashing, and smiled. Yang younger brother, elder sister has a secret. Then, a burst of numbing heat in his ear, a sentence, come into the house and I'll tell you. The experienced, Chen Yang, naturally understood. This was not teaching to dry medicine, it was clearly a forced seduction. However, for women, this matter, even in the previous life where the law was strict, was not very serious. At most it was considered indecent assault. Lu Yan twisted her buttocks. Chen Yang knew that she was deliberately showing off her figure. He turned around and left. Anyway, the clone refining Dao soldiers was not a bad thing for the current Lu Yuan. Wouldn't it be a good thing to experience double the absorption of cultivation? Come on. Seeing that the young man didn't follow, Lu Yan turned around and directly grabbed Chen Yang. Chen Yang's expression slightly condensed. Sister Lu, there's no need to go this far, right? Hee, younger brother, your cultivation has fallen. The Dao soldier quota for next month has already fallen on your head. Don't you want to have a good time? Lu Yan looked at him with a charming look, smiling, wishing she could eat Chen Yang. Sister, please respect yourself. Chen Yang looked angry. Can't we just work properly? Younger brother, can you help elder sister? Although I am at the 3rd level of Qi gathering, I am still at the bottom when I enter the outer sect. How can I protect myself without increasing my strength? After saying that, her face changed, and she forcibly pulled Chen Yang into the spiritual medicine stone house. Chapter 5 No leakage and back absorption. With her strength at the 3rd level of Juzan, Lu Yan could easily deal with someone at the 1st level of Juzan without being careless. Chen Yang couldn't resist at all and was dragged into the stone house. Come on, little brother, eat this. Lu Yan took out a small blue and red pill and forcibly fed it into Chen Yang's mouth, then immediately covered his mouth. As a clone, he couldn't connect to the strange blessed land to transfer the pill away, and in just a few breaths, the blue and red pill turned into the purest desire, filling Chen Yang's body. Lu Yuan in the strange blessed land was overjoyed, revealing an evil smile. This slut Lu Yan doesn't know she's already in danger. Lu Yuan has never been a fan of this first-person melee porn. However, Chen Yang's clone's talent, no leakage, reverse absorption, is very suitable for the current situation, so he had to descend his consciousness to pay attention. Originally, a clone with such a talent would become a Dao soldier in the next month, and Lu Yuan was still regretting it, but now the opportunity has come. No matter how powerful this Yao woman's dual cultivation method is, Chen Yang's clone is only at the first level of Zhan. How much can he absorb? On the other hand, if that no leakage, reverse absorption effect is really as powerful as the strange blessed land describes, what is there to be afraid of? Just absorb. Little brother, do you know how much elder sister has liked you this past year? I really want to go to Wushan with you. Lu Yan said Zhao Zhao Di, her fair face flushed. Although Lu Yan is a married woman, she has Zhan cultivation qualifications. After a year of cultivation, her rough skin has faded and become Nenhua. And Chen Yang's appearance is feminine. It may not be appropriate to describe him as handsome, but it is definitely fitting to describe him as beautiful, even surpassing some female cultivators. Since it was just Shun Shui Tui Zhou to test that no leakage, reverse absorption talent, Chen Yang's clone no longer hesitated and directly began to take off his clothes. Hee, little brother, why are you in such a hurry? Lu Yan let out a yin-ling-like laugh. While Lu Yan was Zhao Shao, she slowly approached Chen Yang's clone, her fingers gently stroking Chen Yang's clone's cheek, as if admiring a perfect work of art. Chen Yang's clone, on the other hand, was very cooperative, with a strange light flickering in his eyes. Now that things have come to this, little brother, I have no choice but to help elder sister improve her cultivation. Chen Yang's clone's voice had a hint of magnetism, making people feel refreshed. Good little brother, you're great. Anyway, you're going to become a Dao soldier, so just help elder sister. Lu Yan said with a satisfied expression, then quickly took off her clothes, revealing large, white breasts and a slender, smooth waist. Chen Yang took the initiative to grasp them, and after the two completed the final step, Lu Yan fa Chuyu Ren Sheng Yin. She began to circulate her Zhan method to absorb, but found that she couldn't feel any cultivation or Yuan Yang. But after a while, she discovered that her Yuan Yin and cultivation were rapidly draining away. She was immediately shocked and wanted to push Chen Yang away, but how could Chen Yang, who had already succeeded, give up easily? He directly hugged Lu Yan and refused to let go. Lu Yan was even more terrified. She struggled desperately as she became weaker and weaker, but it was already useless. At this time, a cold smile appeared on the corner of Chen Yang's clone's mouth. Sister Lu, are you surprised? This is all your own doing. I can't help it. Thank you, Sister Lu, for your help and support. I'll accept your cultivation in Yin Yuan. His aura rose steadily, almost restoring his cultivation to the second level of Zhan. And Lu Yan, like a withered branch, collapsed on the ground, completely Lunwei Fei Ren. After finishing, Chen Yang's clone tidied up his clothes, glanced at the lifeless Lu Yan, and turned and left disdainfully. He walked out of the stone house and walked into the distance. At this time, he had absorbed too much and needed to digest it properly. Strange blessed land. Lu Yuan could clearly feel that Chen Yang's clone had gained too much cultivation and needed some time to digest it. It seems that I have to suspend supplying cultivation points to this clone. I wonder if not absorbing Lu's cultivation points will be a waste. This was the first time since Lu Yuan became a Zhan cultivator that he was troubled by having too many resources and worrying about wasting them. After returning to the cave, Chen Yang's clone was directly summoned back to the strange blessed land by Lu Yuan for digestion. As a demonic sect, there were too many Zhan cultivators who died from dual cultivation like Lu Yan. Even if they were discovered, they wouldn't be surprised at all. After all, she had sucked dry no small number of Zhan cultivators. Chen Yang's clone released some of his cultivation, and after digesting it for 3 days, it ended. His cultivation also broke through to the second level of Zhan, restoring his previous cultivation. Returning to the miscellaneous service office, he was fined a month's worth of Zhan crystals by the steward's senior brother. He said it was a punishment, but in reality, these Zhan crystals went into the steward's senior brother's pocket. But he didn't ask about Lu Yan at all. This is the demonic sect. If it were investigated, this steward's senior brother would not be able to escape responsibility, and it would eventually be concluded that Lu Yan had gone crazy. Lu Yuan then entered the process of controlling Chen Yang's clone to work and relying on absorbing Lu's clone cultivation to automatically cultivate every day. Just 9 days passed, and Lu Yuan looked at the realm column on the wooden door. Realm. Zhan first layer 99 100ths can absorb clone cultivation to improve. Cultivation points +1. After a message came, Lu Yuan felt the feeling of breakthrough, which was the same as when he first entered the first level of Zhan. Zhan's second layer, who would dare to believe this speed? After sighing, he glanced at the wooden door. Having reached the second level of Juzan, the cultivation points required to improve changed to 200 points. But that's only 20 days. Lu Yuan smiled, then suddenly reacted. After this cultivation point breakthrough, it will increase exponentially, right? If that's the case, how long will it take to break through to the 9th level of Juzan? Juzan 10th layer must be 25,600 points. It will take nearly 6 years, not counting the total time added up. At this time, no matter how Lu Yuan asked the strange blessed land, it did not convey any information. This strange blessed land is not intelligent. Lu Yuan sighed for a long time, and for a moment he was distracted. Chen Yang's clone, who was originally carrying the corpse, slipped his hand and directly dropped the corpse. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma, Seer-san, what the hell are you doing? A miscellaneous service disciple opposite roared. Sorry. Regarding the miscellaneous service disciple's roar, Chen Yang didn't care. After all, after he had recovered to the second level of Juzan, he had already escaped the possibility of becoming a Dao soldier in the coming year, so naturally these miscellaneous service disciples who were still at the first level of Juzan were very angry. After completing a day's work, Chen Yang's clone returned to the cave to prepare for cultivation. As a clone, he could receive 2 cultivation points every day, which was very helpful. He vaguely felt that he might be able to step into the 3rd level of Juzan in a few days. Walking to the door of the cave, he heard the miscellaneous service disciples discussing. I heard that Matabai of Jiazi room has already entered the 1st level of Juzan. Now he is finally liberated. Liberated my ass, are you stupid? Disciples who have not entered Juzan have long deng lian shi dao tai. Now there is no one. The meaning is that those at the 1st level of Juzan now have the possibility of becoming Dao soldiers. It's over, what should I do now? This Matabai has become the 1st level of Juzan, my last hope is gone. Chen Yang listened to the side, and couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Nepotism exists in every world. Suddenly, he heard a burst of noise. It turned out that Matabai was walking over arrogantly, surrounded by a group of disciples who were flattering him. You are Chen Yang. Matabai walked arrogantly in front of Chen Yang's clone. I am. Chen Yang's clone responded. He didn't know when he had offended Matabai. Did Sister Lu die at your hands? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, you be careful. Matabai deliberately bumped into Chen Yang's clone and left. Chen Yang's clone was expressionless. This was just a clone, so there was no question of being angry. Even Lu Yuan in the strange blessed land was not angry, but this Matabai seemed to care a lot about Lu Yan, which was very surprising. Chapter 6, the 3rd level of the clone Jushuan. Lu Yuan was unmoved by Ma Debi's intention to cause trouble and seek revenge for Lu Yan, as he believed that strength was the key to resolving all grievances. Chen Yang's doppelganger had absorbed Lu Yan's cultivation and reached the peak of the 2nd level of Juzan, with a breakthrough imminent in the next few days. As a doppelganger, his and Lu Yuan's natural endowments were the same, inferior. Such endowments barely allowed for Zan cultivation, and advancement was difficult and lengthy. Fortunately, he possessed that no leakage, reverse absorption talent, which was a great help in the demon sect. However, Lu Yuan was well aware that regardless of natural endowments or talents, only perseverance could lead to the pinnacle of Zan cultivation. Of course, resources, opportunities, and even a golden finger were also essential. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. In the bizarre blessed land, Lu Yuan routinely controlled Chen Yang's doppelganger to cultivate before withdrawing his consciousness. He had discovered that this place in the bizarre blessed land was relatively intelligent. When cultivating techniques, even if consciousness was withdrawn, the doppelganger would not stop, nor would it suffer from chi deviation. It was a passive talent bestowed by the blessed land. After starting to cultivate himself, he connected his consciousness to the doppelganger on the corpse refining platform, Seer Lu. Pain. A tremendous pain struck, a feeling akin to an ant on a hot pan, being burned by fierce flames. In an instant, Lu Yuan's consciousness withdrew from the doppelganger. He was not deliberately seeking suffering but wanted to observe the surroundings of this doppelganger. After absorbing so much cultivation power for more than 10 days, he wondered if this would attract the attention of high-level Zan cultivators from the Northern Refinement Hall, and whether the soon-to-be-completed Dao soldier would escape the control of the bizarre blessed land. Too painful. I only felt it slightly, but I didn't expect it to be so painful. Lu Yuan got up and stretched, but no matter what he did, he couldn't forget the pain he had just experienced. Those who can become Tao soldiers are at least decent in terms of willpower. Moreover, the bizarre blessed land is indeed powerful. It seems impossible for the doppelganger to escape control, even after becoming a Tao soldier. One should know that after becoming a Tao soldier, the sect has absolute control over them. This was a Tao agreement, impossible to break. But now, Lu Yuan seemed able to rely on the bizarre blessed land to override this control. He then sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and prepared to start cultivating. Why is my understanding of the technique suddenly so clear? After cultivating for a while, Lu Yuan noticed some differences. Could it be that the pain just now can temper the divine soul? The divine soul, as the foundation of Zon cultivation, is the source of comprehension. It guides Zon cultivators in exploring the mysteries of Zon techniques. However, cultivation methods specifically targeting the divine soul were rare and difficult to find, and forced exploration was even more daunting. This effect made Lu Yuan determined to try again. For Zon cultivators, this was an opportunity, and what was a moment of pain if it could temper the divine soul? Beside the corpse refining platform in the northern refinement hall, the old caretaker suddenly approached the pool because he had noticed that the anomaly was finally showing signs of activity. This anomaly has been in the pool for more than 10 days without any movement. It seems to have finally reacted just now. He stared intently at Lu, noticing that his face was slightly pale, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, yet he remained as still as a statue. He was completely different from the other Tao soldiers being refined in the blood pool, who were either in agonizing pain, muttering to themselves, or begging for death. Only, Lu seemed detached, leaving the old caretaker puzzled and unable to understand why. If the Zon blood weren't circulating normally, I would have thought something was wrong. Is there really someone in the world who can endure such pain without changing their expression? The old caretaker rarely showed a hint of admiration. Having watched over the corpse refining platform for so many years, this was truly the first time he had seen such a terrifying person. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed that Lu had changed his expression again, revealing a look of pain. As expected, a person is just a person. How could they not change their expression under such pain? However, this Tao soldier should be successful, and even have the potential to reach a higher level corpse refining platform. The old caretaker seemed to be talking to himself, or perhaps deliberately saying it for Lu to hear. Indeed, these words reached Lu Yuan's ears. There's a higher level Tao platform. Lu Yuan, enduring the pain, secretly noted it down. The information that handyman disciples could know was limited. With the bizarre blessed land and the ability to create countless doppelgangers, Lu Yuan could build his own intelligence network. His main body would hide behind the scenes, plotting to improve his realm. This time, Lu Yuan endured for 20 breaths before withdrawing his consciousness. In the following days, he occasionally tried to endure the pain brought by the blood pool, finding that it indeed helped his divine soul. His consciousness became clearer and clearer, and he could control the two bodies more flexibly. Cultivation points +1. Cultivation points +1. On this day, Chen Yang's doppelganger in the bizarre blessed land, after harvesting the daily 2 cultivation points, reached the 3rd level of Juzan. Chen Yang began practicing a set of fist techniques, with very simple movements and stances. Not bad. I didn't expect that this military boxing technique learned in military training during my previous life could still be remembered after the tempering of the divine soul, and the fact that this doppelganger has broken through to the 3rd level of Juzan means that he has a chance to enter the outer sect. Lu Yuan, standing aside, smiled and said, "That's natural, but I don't know if there are any spots available." The self-talk was just to practice the flexible use of the doppelganger. Sometimes, when Lu Yuan was in the mood, they would spar with each other, a trick similar to the left hand fighting the right hand. Lord of the Bizarre Blessed Land, Lu Yuan. Lifespan, 1646. Talent, none can share with doppelgangers by consuming fate. Realm, Juzan 2nd level 163 200ths can absorb doppelganger cultivation to improve. Natural endowment, inferior can obtain from doppelgangers by consuming fate. Technique, body forging art can obtain from doppelgangers by consuming fate. Spells, none can share with doppelgangers by consuming fate. Juzan 1st level doppelganger, Luke 2100ths. Juzan 2nd level doppelganger, none. Juzan 3rd level doppelganger, Chenyang 1/800th. Fate. 3 points. Looking at the mere 3 points of fate, Lu Yuan's desire to refine more doppelgangers was thwarted. Fate was obtained by killing living beings with cultivation. During this period, Lu Yuan had killed 2 more prostrate corpses in the corpse burial cliff through Chenyang to obtain 2 points. People died here every day. As the sect's property, handyman disciples could, naturally, die in the refinement of Tao soldiers. If he killed them, the murderer would have to pay Zan crystals. And it was incredibly expensive. Ordinary outer sect disciples would basically lose their entire fortune. Moreover, Lu Yuan would not kill handyman disciples at will, so he could only kill these low-level prostrate corpses to obtain fate. How to earn fate. Chen Yang's doppelganger sighed and left the bizarre blessed land. It was almost time to start work. ... Handyman stone house, jaw grade room. Sister Lu, why did you leave? Didn't we agree to enter the outer sect together, to roam together, to be a loving couple? In the corner of the dim stone house, Ma Debi tightly gripped a red bellyband, with endless sorrow in his eyes. In fact, everyone in the demon sect wore a mask to survive. Ma Debi possessed inferior qualifications, and it was easy to step into the first level of Juzan. The reason why he had not broken through before was because he was willing to be Lu Yan's subordinate, offering Zan crystals, and being absorbed during dual cultivation. Don't worry, Sister Lu, I will definitely avenge you and kill Chen Yang. The handyman disciples were well aware of how Lu Yan died. This was clearly a huge green hat, showing how deeply Ma Debi loved Lu Yan. Even so, he vowed to avenge his beloved. While Ma Debi was still grieving, a reprimand came. You useless thing, holding a woman's shameful toy, what are you crying about? Chapter 7 Military Training. Uncle, what brings you here? You didn't even give me a heads up. Ma Debi abruptly looked up, gazing at the black-robed middle-aged cultivator standing at the entrance. What brings me here? You good for nothing. Whose trinket is that in your hand? Elder Ma's face was ashen. Seeing this profound cultivator weeping over women's intimate apparel was quite shocking to him. He had never witnessed such a thing in all his years of facing life and death. A dignified demonic cultivator, so cowardly and pathetic. Ma Debi's heart tightened. He quickly stuffed the red bellyband into his chest, replacing it with a smiling face as he greeted the elder. I picked this up, uncle. Please, don't be angry. Look at you, so utterly hopeless. We profound cultivators should never be shackled by emotions. Women are nothing more than cauldrons for cultivation. Uncle's reprimand is correct. Is there something you came to tell me? Elder Ma sighed helplessly, looking at his useless nephew. I'm here to inform you that the sect is about to hold the outer disciple assessment. You must strive to secure a spot. The outer sect assessment isn't for another few months, is it? It's happening now. But uncle, I can't do it. Ma Debi looked aggrieved. He had only just stepped into the first layer of gathering profound. You useless thing. I'm telling you to go to the assessment, so go. Look at what a spineless wretch you are. Elder Ma, exasperated, heavily tossed a dark, long sword onto the ground. This is a profound artifact I've prepared for you. Whether you can prove yourself depends on you. Having said that, he turned to leave. Uncle, don't go. How do I use this magical artifact? Ma Debi picked up the long sword profound artifact, sensing the sharp aura emanating from it. I'm truly going to be the death of you. Elder Ma turned back and slapped Ma Debi twice across the face. Do you understand now? Yes, I understand. I'm just afraid I won't be able to bring the profound artifact inside. To test their profound heaven talent, handyman disciples are forbidden from carrying any profound artifacts during the outer sect assessment. What are you afraid of? You still have me, don't you? Uncle, you're right. After Elder Ma departed, Ma Debi put away his smiling facade, and his gaze gradually turned sinister. At the Mao hour 5 to 7 a.m., just as the sky began to lighten with the first hint of dawn, the area in front of the handyman stone houses was already bustling with activity. These handyman disciples emerged from the stone houses one after another, some rubbing their sleepy eyes, others yawning, clearly not yet fully awake from their dreams. As the sky grew a bit brighter, they all quickened their pace in unison, quickly lining up to prepare for the assignment of the day's heavy labor. Chen Yang stood in his position, unable to suppress the thought in his heart. This is even earlier than the military-style wake-up time in the prison of my previous life. Just as his thoughts were running wild, the clear, cold voice of the steward's senior brother rang out, beginning to assign labor tasks. 423, 427, 428, 429-433, U10 will accompany the mid-gathering profound Dao soldiers in training today. Go to Earth Character 9 training ground immediately to await. Hearing this arrangement, the handyman disciples whose numbers were called all showed expressions of deathly pain on their faces. Even the consciousness of Lu Yuan within Chen Yang's clone couldn't help but secretly complain. Accompanying the training of First Order mid-gathering profound Dao soldiers was not an easy task. These were newly crafted Dao soldiers. Because they had not yet fully mastered their bodies, their control over profound power was also unskilled, and they often accidentally took away these handyman disciples with lower cultivation realms. Who would be willing to go to labor that could lead to death? However, the command of this steward senior brother was the sect's decree, and no one dared to disobey. The 10 of them had no choice but to leave the crowd and head to Earth Character 9 training ground. Outside Earth Character 9 training ground, the 10 of them waited quietly until the sun hung high in the sky before they saw an outer disciple drowsily open the gate slowly. The crowd was able to enter. Clearly the outer disciple hadn't taken the matter to heart, resulting in him oversleeping. Chen Yang's clone's expression slightly tightened, following closely behind. Although this clone was not his main body, it was highly valued by Lu Yuan. After all, it possessed considerable talent. If it cultivated to completion, it would be a significant help, and he naturally didn't want to lose it easily. Currently, this clone's cultivation was only at the 3rd layer of gathering profound, and he didn't understand profound techniques. Facing mid-gathering profound Dao soldiers was undoubtedly like hitting a stone with an egg. I can only hope that no dangerous situation will arise, otherwise, I'll just be another member under corpse burial cliff. Chen Yang's clone secretly grumbled, following the crowd into the training ground, where a wide open space appeared in his field of vision. Sunlight dappled the ground, as if adding a bit of vitality to this demonic sect training ground. In the center of the field, 20 heavily armored, purple-skinned living puppet Dao soldiers stood imposingly. The gray-black heavy armor shone with a cold light under the sunlight, and the purple skin was tightly attached to the armor, with smooth lines, showing a strong sense of power. They were like iron men, tightly gripping long spears in their hands, the tips of the spears flashing with a chilling cold light, as if they could tear the air at any time, causing fear in the hearts of the handyman disciples. Fellow junior brothers, today I will be training the Dao soldier formation. I hope you don't make any mistakes, otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. The outer disciple who opened the door and led the crowd and spoke, giving instructions. In fact, the reason for using handyman disciples was to stimulate the near-dissipated consciousness of these living puppet Dao soldiers. Yes, the crowd had no choice but to respond with a stiff upper lip. Next, I will arrange your positions. After the formation is activated, run wherever I tell you to run, understand? Yes. The disciples listened attentively and began to stand in a single line. After doing everything, the outer disciple activated the Dao soldier formation. Chen Yang watched closely, and Lu Yuan's consciousness in his mind also began to analyze the scene. Kill. At that moment, the lead Dao soldier shouted loudly, and the 20 Dao soldiers moved at the same time, their neat steps shaking the ground slightly. They charged towards the crowd, extremely fast. Wielding the long spears in their hands, if they were hit, these handyman disciples would either die or be injured. Run south. The outer disciple's voice came. He was ordering the handyman disciples while using profound techniques to control the Dao soldiers to pursue. Chen Yang immediately began running south. Run east. These Dao soldiers were originally chasing the handyman disciples to the south, but at this moment they saw the handyman disciples change direction and immediately changed direction as well. However, some Dao soldiers were uncoordinated, and some used too much profound energy, causing a large number of Dao soldiers to fall. For a time, there was chaos. This batch of Dao soldiers was refined a bit stiffly. The outer disciple muttered to himself, then shouted again, "Restore formation." Then those Dao soldiers returned to their original positions. After training like this for half a day, these Dao soldiers gradually regained their coordination. Moreover, Lu Yuan also understood why this outer sect cultivator wanted to use handyman disciples to train the Dao soldiers. Apart from the fact that the outer disciple wanted to skillfully master the profound techniques for controlling the Dao soldiers, it was also because these Dao soldiers themselves were not very smart. If there was no target, perhaps profound techniques might not be able to control them. According to Lu Yuan's hearsay, these living puppet Dao soldiers would not die after being successfully refined, but from the current situation, they were not dead, but they were stupid. Even their control over their bodies would be inflexible. The Tao soldiers charging in front of him exuded a strong profound power, and they were awe-inspiring. This Tao soldier formation is very strong. If it is refined with a clone, the cooperation will be even more tacit, it's just that splitting the soul is not easy. Lu Yuan began to analyze the advantages of this Tao soldier formation. The Tao soldier formation relied on tacit understanding, and if they achieved telepathy, their strength would be even more terrifying. Moreover, Tao soldiers rely on various characteristics to attract corresponding heaven and earth profound energy to maintain operation, without relying on profound energy to improve their realm, and naturally are not restricted by root bone aptitude. This is undoubtedly a good profound cultivation path for clones with inferior root bones like Lu Yuan. Anyway, the clone has no split soul and no consciousness, and is not a real person. It doesn't matter if it dies on the corpse refining platform, the only thing lost is fate. Chapter 8 Outer Gate Selection. The setting sun was like blood, dyeing the horizon a crimson red, as if soaked in fresh blood. Before the stone huts of the menial disciples, a group of weary and staggering figures slowly returned. Their eyes were filled with fear and the relief of surviving a disaster. Just now, they had experienced a thrilling escape from death. The living puppet Tao soldier was as elusive as a ghost, his attacks were ruthless and merciless, each move carrying a fatal killing intent. One of the menial disciples at the third level of Zhu, Zhu, was unable to dodge and was struck heavily by his fierce attack, his entire left arm severed at the shoulder, blood gushing out, instantly staining his tattered clothes red. This Tao soldier is simply inhuman, his attacks are too ruthless. A menial disciple looked at Zhu and said with lingering fear, his voice still trembling slightly. In the corpse demon sect, a place where the weak are prey to the strong, saying such words was either naive or deliberately mocking the injured man. Yes, he doesn't leave any way out. Others echoed, their faces filled with anger and helplessness, but beneath that helplessness, there was a deep sense of powerlessness. Zhu, you must rest more and quickly heal your injuries. A menial disciple hypocritically comforted him, but a faint, imperceptible coldness flashed in his eyes, like an icicle in the cold night. In the corpse demon sect, menial disciples were already as lowly as dust, and cultivation resources were even scarcer. Now that he had lost an arm, it was almost equivalent to severing Zhu's path to cultivation. What awaited him was likely only the path of becoming a Tao soldier, a path that seemed like a way out but was actually a hellish dead end. Alas, once you become a living puppet Tao soldier, it's better to be dead than alive. Another menial disciple spoke, his tone tinged with schadenfreude, as if watching a farce that had nothing to do with him. At this moment, Chen Yang frowned slightly and analyzed, however, speaking of which, becoming a living puppet Tao soldier is not without its benefits. That outer sect senior once said that if it is matched with the Tao soldier formation, 20 Zhu mid-stage Tao soldiers, if they can be perfectly coordinated, can easily slaughter 20 Zhu mid-stage Zon cultivators. HMPH, since you think it's good, then you go become a Tao soldier. The menial disciples mocked Chen Yang one after another, their eyes filled with disdain, as if Chen Yang had said something rebellious. The crowd returned to their respective stone huts one after another, leaving only Chen Yang muttering to himself, become a Tao soldier. Soon. Within the eerie blessed land, Lu Yuan was immersed in the improvement of his cultivation. Wisps of strange light surrounded him, constantly absorbing the cultivation points transmitted from the corpse refining platform. He still had a considerable distance to go before reaching the third level of Zhu. Time passed quickly in silence. In the past few days, Lu Yuan had been staying in the blessed land, and through repeated probing and sensing, he had finally determined that it was absolutely safe here. However, a piece of news had recently caused a great uproar among the menial disciples, like a blockbuster. For some unknown reason, the righteous and demonic paths had erupted into fierce battles, and the corpse demon sect had also been drawn into it, and had begun to actively prepare in full swing. To this end, the sect made a decision to select those who passed the test from the menial disciples and promote them to formal outer sect disciples. Although he didn't know if it was true or not, after learning of this news, Lu Yuan immediately increased the cultivation points allocated to Chen Yang's clone to 10 points. In this way, Chen Yang's clone was not far from breaking through the fourth level of Zhu. It would be very beneficial for Lu Yuan to have Chen Yang's clone become an outer sect disciple. With this identity, he would have the opportunity to leave the corpse demon sect and venture into a wider world. Eerie Blessed Land Lord, Lu Yuan. Lifespan, 1646. Talent, none can consume destiny points and share with clones. Realm, Juzan second level 163 200ths can absorb clone cultivation to improve bone structure. Inferior grade can consume destiny points to obtain from clones. Cultivation method. Body forging art can consume destiny points to obtain from clones. Spells. None can consume destiny points and share with clones. Juzan first level clone. Seer Loop 2100ths. Juzan second level clone. None. Juzan third level clone. Chenyang 512 800ths. Destiny points. 3. Sending cultivation points to Chen Yang's clone every day has a decent effect. In another 30 days, he will be able to break through. If the news of that outer sect selection is true, it would indeed be an excellent opportunity. Lu Yuan looked at the iris information that appeared in front of him, his eyes flashing with anticipation. Once you enter the demon sect, it's like being trapped in a quagmire. Only by becoming an outer sect disciple can you have the opportunity to break free from the shackles and leave this place. Now, although he had temporarily gained safety in this eerie blessed land, he had also lost his freedom. If he could leave the corpse demon sect, it would be like a dragon diving into the sea, and from then on, the sky would be the limit. With this mysterious and eerie blessed land, he firmly believed that he would be able to make a name for himself on this path of cultivation. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. In the early morning, the first ray of dawn, like a gentle thread, quietly penetrated the thin mist and gently sprinkled outside the stone huts of the menial disciples. This should have been a quiet and peaceful moment, but it was broken by a noisy human voice. Chen Yang's clone had just come out of the eerie blessed land when he was attracted by the noise. He turned his head and looked, only to see a group of more than 10 new menial disciples with immature faces and uneasy expressions slowly walking in under the leadership of several stewards. The eyes of the new menial disciples were filled with curiosity and fear of the unknown environment. Chen Yang frowned slightly. Although he was accustomed to the frequent replacement of menial disciples, he couldn't help but think about the reason behind it. He withdrew his gaze and tidied up the slightly tattered clothes on his body. At this moment, a figure flashed out like a ghost. When everyone took a closer look, it was Elder Ma. He was wearing a black robe, the corners of his clothes fluttering in the wind, and he exuded a cold and majestic aura. His eyes swept over the menial disciples as coldly as an eagle. On weekdays, Elder Ma only appeared when announcing important decrees of the sect. His appearance this time must be for an important matter. Someone among the menial disciples shouted, "Come out, the elder is here, come out and gather." Soon, the menial disciples hurried out of their respective stone huts and quickly gathered in the open space, their expressions nervous and afraid to breathe loudly. 5 days later, the holy sect will hold the outer sect disciple selection. You must not slack off in the slightest. Elder Ma's voice was low and powerful, resounding like a great bell around him. As soon as these words came out, different waves suddenly arose in the hearts of the menial disciples. Some had excitement and anticipation flashing in their eyes instantly, as if they saw the dawn of a turning point in their destiny, and that light burned with longing for the future, while others were dejected, full of despair, knowing that they had no chance with this rare opportunity, their eyes full of helplessness and loss. The news spread among the menial disciples before is really true. Chen Yang pondered secretly. He had been lurking silently in this menial disciple area for a long time, and this selection was undoubtedly an excellent opportunity to go further. He must go all out and never miss it. And Seer Ju, who was originally at the 3rd level of Juzan, would have had a certain chance when selecting outer sect disciples. But now, although the severed arm had been simply bandaged, the double blow of losing hope of promotion made him as listless as an eggplant beaten by frost, his heart as dead as ashes, and his eyes full of endless loneliness and unwillingness. Elder Ma seemed to have expected the reaction of the crowd. He raised his hand slightly, signaling everyone to be quiet, and then said, "The selection is divided into 3 stages. The first stage tests cultivation, which aims to test your usual cultivation results. Only with solid cultivation can you go further on the path of cultivation. The second stage tests reaction, which requires you to show adaptability and wisdom in many complex situations. The path of cultivation is definitely not just about brute force. The last stage tests bone structure, which is the foundation of cultivation. I hope you will prepare well and not fail this rare opportunity." After saying that, he waved his long sleeves, and his figure was as fast as lightning, disappearing in front of everyone in an instant, leaving only a group of menial disciples in place savoring his words. Then, the managing disciple stepped forward, cleared his throat, and announced today's task. To everyone's surprise, this time Chen Yang's clone was no longer accompanying the Dao soldiers in cultivation, but was actually taking new disciples to familiarize themselves with the environment. This change made Chen Yang feel a trace of doubt in his heart, but he also vaguely felt that this might be related to the upcoming outer sect selection. After all, he was at the third level of Juzan, and becoming an outer sect disciple was basically a certainty. Chapter 9 Tests and Opportunities. On this day, the plaza in front of Blood Demon Peak of the Corpse Demon sect was bustling with activity and crowded with people. In the center of the plaza, various testing instruments were arranged in an orderly manner, emitting an ancient and mysterious light, as if recounting the cultivation legends of countless disciples in the past. All around, the plaza was densely packed with disciples who had come to observe the ceremony, some whispering to each other, discussing the various rumors of this test, while others stared intently at the center of the plaza, their eyes full of anticipation and tension. The entire plaza permeated with a tense atmosphere. This was a unified test of the sect, and all the handyman disciples from the 3 peaks of Daobing Peak, Jushi Peak, and Blood Demon Peak, who had the opportunity to come, gathered here. These handyman disciples were all eager and ready to prove themselves, their eyes flashing with a mixture of desire and nervousness. They knew better than anyone else that this was a golden opportunity to change their destiny. Once they passed the selection and became outer disciples, they would have access to more abundant cultivation resources and a completely different path of cultivation. Before long, the handyman elders of the 3 peaks arrived together, with Elder Ma conspicuously among them. In an instant, the originally noisy plaza quieted down, and all the handyman disciples turned their gazes to the elders, their eyes full of awe. The leading middle-aged elder had a solemn expression and announced in a loud voice, "Today is a significant day for our Corpse Demon sect. All of you handyman disciples must have dreamed of becoming outer disciples and obtaining better cultivation resources. But this is by no means an easy task. First of all, there is this cultivation test." After saying that, he raised his hand and pointed to a wooden stake array on one side of the plaza. This wooden stake array may seem ordinary, but it actually contains hidden mysteries. If you can leave a mark on it, it proves that your cultivation has reached the qualified standard. Do not underestimate this step, it is the key beginning to selecting true potential. Elder Ma followed up with a serious supplement, "All disciples, be sure to go all out to show your strength. But if anyone tries to cheat or play tricks, they will be directly sent to the corpse refining platform." "Yes." The disciples responded in unison, their voices resounding throughout the plaza. After that, the first handyman disciple took a deep breath and walked forward with steady steps. Mysterious energy circulated around his body, his expression focused, and he suddenly punched towards the wooden stake array. In an instant, a ripple of mysterious energy spread rapidly from the fist, and a faint trace appeared on the surface of the wooden stake. A burst of whispers immediately arose around him, some praising him, while others showed disdain. The disciple breathed a sigh of relief, a gratified smile on his face, and retreated to the side to wait for the subsequent assessment. When it was Chen Yang's turn, he had carefully observed it beforehand and understood in his heart that with his cultivation level about to break through the 4th level of Gathering Profound, leaving a mark on this wooden stake was not difficult. He calmly gathered the majestic mysterious energy in his body and threw a swift punch, the mysterious energy like a surging undercurrent, accurately hitting the wooden stake, and a clear and deep mark instantly appeared. The surrounding disciples couldn't help but cast envious and surprised glances. Chen Yang was secretly puzzled, the Corpse Demon sect had obviously lowered the threshold this time, he didn't know what they were up to. With this doubt in mind, he went to the managing disciple to register. The handyman disciples were tested in an orderly manner, and the progress was quite rapid. Shortly after noon, the first batch of disciples who passed the cultivation test was born. At this time, the middle-aged elder cleared his throat and announced in a loud voice, "The first cultivation test has come to a successful conclusion, and the next is the second test. This test will take place in a forest on Blood Demon Peak where profound beasts are raised for combat." As soon as he finished speaking, the handyman disciples below immediately erupted in an uproar. A bold disciple asked loudly, "Elder, we have never practiced profound techniques, how can we fight with demon beasts?" The middle-aged elder smiled slightly, confidently explaining, "Naturally, we won't let you go to your deaths in vain. The strength of the profound beasts in the forest will not exceed the 3rd level of Gathering Profound. Moreover, this is also an excellent opportunity to test your adaptability. Remember, courage and wisdom are indispensable." Although the disciples were still uneasy, they could only accept it helplessly. Chen Yang thought to himself that this second test seemed dangerous, but in fact, it contained a huge opportunity for him. At this moment, Elder Ma spoke again. In the profound beast forest, you must not kill each other, otherwise you will be granted a place on the corpse refining platform, and you must leave the forest before nightfall. Alright, now the first batch of handyman disciples who passed the test will go to Blood Demon Peak. With an order, the handyman disciples successively set off towards the forest of low-level profound beasts. After the hundreds of handyman disciples who passed the cultivation test in the first round gathered in the forest, the middle-aged elder gave an order, begin. The disciples poured into the forest like a tide. As soon as Chen Yang stepped into the forest, a strong aura of murderous intent rushed towards him, causing him to shiver. Lu Yuan, in the weird blessed land, also felt as if someone was tracking Chen Yang's clone. This was also a benefit brought by the weird blessed land, being able to have a certain range of God's perspective, or rather, a soul projection. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the bushes beside him, and a demon beast resembling a civet cat, but with strange flames burning in its eyes, suddenly jumped out. Chen Yang's pupils shrank instantly, and he secretly cried out that things were bad, but the tenacity honed by years of hard work in the handyman department allowed him to quickly calm down and prepare to meet this fierce battle. He knew that although his third level of gathering profound cultivation had a slight advantage in front of this demon beast, he must not be careless. He quickly circulated his mysterious energy, and the surging mysterious energy covered his entire body like a solid armor, especially his clenched fists, which flashed with a cold mysterious light. The civet cat demon beast launched an attack first, rushing towards Chen Yang like a black lightning bolt, its sharp claws drawing several cold lights in the air. Chen Yang dodged sideways, nimbly avoiding this fierce blow, and at the same time, seizing the opportunity, he slammed a punch towards the side of the civet cat demon beast. This punch condensed all of his mysterious energy, hitting the vital point of the civet cat demon beast. The civet cat demon beast felt pain and let out a sharp roar. It turned angrily, the flames in its eyes becoming more and more intense, and attacked Chen Yang again. Chen Yang did not retreat but advanced, and punched again. This time, he condensed the mysterious energy on the tip of his fist, like a sharp blade. The civet cat demon beast couldn't dodge and was hit in the head by this punch. Suddenly, blood splattered, and after struggling a few times, it fell to the ground and lost its breath. Extracted a profound beast's fate, 1 point. As expected, I can get fate. Chen Yang looked at the corpse of the demon beast, overjoyed. This fate, for him, is the key to improving his strength. Accumulating enough fate can not only refine clones, but also copy various profound skills, profound arts, and talents on the clones. As early as when he heard that there would be actual combat, he was already excited, because demon beasts can provide fate, which gave him an excellent opportunity to improve his strength. However, just as Chen Yang was immersed in the joy of gaining fate, a figure flashed past, snatched the corpse of the civet cat demon beast, and then ran away. It turned out to be a handyman disciple playing a trick, trying to reap the benefits of others and be the mantis behind the cicada. Chen Yang did not chase after him. In his opinion, fate was the biggest gain, and there were more demon beasts in this forest waiting for him to hunt. It seems to be that one-armed Jew, let's see how far you can go. Chen Yang shook his head and smiled. He wasn't helping others for fun, but he couldn't take these profound beasts away anyway. They were sect property, and he only needed one corpse no matter how many he killed. Then he turned around and continued to march towards the depths of the forest, looking forward to how much fate he could gain on this trip. Chapter 10. Refining Soul. The Zon Beast Forest of Blood Demon Peak was eerily silent, with only the occasional cries of Zon beasts echoing through the trees. At Chen Yang's clone's feet lay the corpse of a Zon beast resembling a black panther. Absorbed a Zon beast's life force, 1 point. He had been carefully advancing, each step taken with extreme caution. The passive vision granted by the strange blessed land allowed him to avoid being ambushed. Moreover, the Zon beasts here were only at the third level of Ju Zon, making hunting them an easy task for him. Suddenly, a faint rustling sound came from the bushes on the right. Chen Yang's clone instantly tensed up, circulating Zon power throughout his body and entering a state of high alert. Thanks to his special sensory ability, his soul seemed to leave his body, seeing that what was hiding in the bushes was not a Zon beast, but a miscellaneous disciple. According to the rules, one cannot kill fellow disciples, otherwise, they will directly receive a spot to enter the Refinement Corpse Dao platform, but this is actually a beautiful miscellaneous disciple. Chen Yang's clone thought to himself, his eyes fixed on the bushes. At this moment, the movement in the bushes abruptly stopped, as if the other party had noticed Chen Yang's clone's vigilance. The forest was filled with baleful aura. Although the thick, fishy mist usually only appeared at night, at this time, wisps of it had already begun to permeate the air, adding a touch of death to the already eerie forest. Chen Yang's clone stood quietly, staring intently at the bushes. After a moment, the person in the bushes finally couldn't bear it any longer and slowly stood up. Senior brother, this junior is Chu Jing from the Jia class room of the Southern Medicine Hall of the Dao Soldier Peak, codenamed 321. I saw that senior brother's strength is extraordinary, and I boldly have an unreasonable request. I implore senior brother to grant me this Zon beast corpse. Chu Jing's skin was as white as snow, and her long hair cascaded down her shoulders like a waterfall. Her voice carried a hint of trembling, making it particularly clear in this silent forest. Chen Yang's clone sneered, "Why should I? This is what I worked hard to hunt." Chu Jing bit her lower lip, a hint of determination flashing in her eyes, and took Chen Yang's clone's arm, a soft warmth pressing against him. "Senior brother, I know this is presumptuous, but my strength is only at the second level of Ju Zon, and I really have no other choice. I really need this Zon beast corpse, and I am willing to pay any price, including myself." Chen Yang's clone smelled the faint fragrance emanating from 321's body and raised an eyebrow slightly. "Myself. I am not one to lust after beauty. Senior brother, please help me. I was originally a farmer's daughter, but my father is a gambler, and my mother is sick in bed all year round. I also have several young siblings. Being sensible, I naturally want to share the burden for my family and find a job that can earn a lot of money. Who knew I would be tricked into this demon sect? I don't want to become a Dao soldier, I still want to go back and see my sick mother and young siblings." Chu Jing took another step closer, the wind blowing her hair, making her look even more pathetic. "Please, senior brother, help me, I will do anything." Chen Yang's clone squinted his eyes and sized her up. "Indeed, you have some beauty." Chu Jing hurriedly said, "I am at senior brother's disposal." In the strange blessed land, Yuan smiled. Chen Yang's clone still needed a few days to break through. If they cultivated together, he would definitely break through, and this would not cause him any loss. Chen Yang's clone pretended to think for a moment, and then said lightly, "All right, I'll give you this Zon beast for now." A look of joy appeared on Chu Jing's face. She bent down to pick up the Zon beast, revealing a large expanse of whiteness on her chest, and then turned and walked towards the depths of the forest, while still staring at Chen Yang, smiling charmingly. "Senior brother, come here." Chen Yang's clone followed closely behind. The surrounding trees became denser and the light became dimmer. Chu Jing silently stepped over one side of an invisible thin line, guiding Chen Yang's clone to follow. But how could these little tricks work on Yuan, who had the soul out-of-body perspective? He naturally stepped over the trap as well. Then, he grabbed Chu Jing. At that moment, Chu Jing's face suddenly turned as pale as paper. Her eyes widened, and she shouted loudly forward in terror, "Senior brother, don't blame me, you." However, before she could finish speaking, a burst of wild laughter suddenly echoed around. "Haha, just a little trick, don't delay our pleasure." This laughter came from Chen Yang's clone, who had a playful look on his face. Chu Jing looked at Chen Yang's clone in astonishment, muttering to herself, "How is this possible? I had carefully set up the trap in advance, how could it be so easily seen through and avoided?" At this moment, her heart was filled with surprise and fear, completely at a loss. However, facing Chu Jing's panic, Chen Yang's clone appeared calm and composed, outlining a cold smile and saying lightly, "Since that's the case, then let's begin." With that, his figure flashed, and he instantly pounced towards Chu Jing. Seeing this, Chu Jing hurriedly tried to break free from Chen Yang's restraints, but her strength was too weak compared to Chen Yang's clone. Chen Yang's clone easily reached out and grabbed Chu Jing's slender waist firmly in his hand. "What do you think this place is?" Chen Yang's clone spoke again, his words revealing a cold chill. Hearing these words, Chu Jing's delicate body trembled violently, and her already pale face instantly lost its color, becoming completely bloodless. In the corpse demon sect, people are like weeds. For women, it is even more like hell. Chu Jing has been able to navigate among these miscellaneous disciples for the past year with some cleverness, but she never thought that she would encounter a master like Chen Yang. Immediately afterward, Chen Yang's clone mercilessly reached out his fingers and tightly pinched Chu Jing's slender neck. Feeling the threat of being humiliated approaching step by step, Chu Jing closed her eyes in despair, waiting to accept her fate. However, something unexpected happened. Just as Chu Jing had already lost all hope, several figures emerged from the jungle. Junior brother is so cultured, why don't you let us brothers have some fun too? The black-robed disciple in the lead said. Although Chen Yang's current strength is stronger than ordinary disciples, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. He immediately threw Chu Jing over. Moreover, those Zon beast corpses all belonged to the sect, and the clone could not pass them to the strange blessed land at all. For Chen Yang, as long as there is one corpse that can successfully pass through the checkpoint, the rest are useless. Naturally, there is no need to worry about it, but this Chu Jing should be very uncomfortable. For Lu Yuan, it may be a bit of a pity, after all, it is a good resource to improve Chen Yang's cultivation. Lord of the Strange Blessed Land, Lu Yuan. Lifespan, 1646. Talent, none. Life force can be consumed and shared with clones. Realm, Juzon 2nd level 163 200ths can absorb clones' cultivation to improve. Root bone, inferior grade. Life force can be consumed to obtain from clones. Cultivation method, body tempering art. Life force can be consumed to obtain from clones. Spell, none. Life force can be consumed and shared with clones. Juzon 1st level clone, Seer Lu 426 2100ths. Juzon 2nd level clone, none. Juzon 3rd level clone, Chen Yang 768 hundredths. Life force, 26 points. In the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan looked at the information on the iris and nodded. These 3rd level Juzon Zon beasts are also some low-level bloodline demon beasts that have not mastered Zon techniques. Hunting them is still relatively easy, and it may also be because of the clone, there is no fear of facing danger directly. In actual combat, the win rate of those who don't want their lives is always higher, just like some professional boxers in the previous life would also be afraid of gangsters holding sharp blades. And Lu Yuan's control of the clone's battle is like playing a game, without any life-threatening danger. Nearly 20 Zon beasts have been hunted, mostly 1st and 2nd level Juzon, and fewer 3rd level, but the life force given is all 1 point, but after accumulating so much, I can now separate a strand of soul. I can also refine 3 clones, but the identity is not easy to obtain, and it is very troublesome for me to control. After splitting the soul, I will keep the life force first. After making a plan in his mind, Lu Yuan said lightly, Strange blessed land, split my soul. As soon as he said this, the life force column on the panel immediately decreased by 10 points. Moreover, the wooden house in the strange blessed land began to shake, and it also absorbed the strange aura in the space. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 11, Sword of Destruction. A moment later, the ancient wooden door slowly opened, and a ball of white light suddenly flashed. At the instant this white light appeared, Lu Yuan keenly sensed that a mysterious and subtle connection had been established between himself and it. This connection was extremely peculiar. He could clearly feel that he seemed to control the life and death of this white light. Moreover, he inexplicably mastered a special technique, nullification, which, simply put, could format the split soul, resetting all memories and personality. Furthermore, due to the weird blessed land, these split souls would not generate self-awareness, thus preventing them from violating the main body. Given Lu Yuan's current cultivation level, he could only refine 1 split soul at the moment, and he planned to integrate this split soul into Chen Yang's body. However, for now, he could only wait for Chen Yang's clone to return. Within the profound beast forest. At this time, the stipulated time limit had arrived, and Chen Yang, carrying a 3rd level profound gathering realm snake demon, strode steadily towards the outside of the forest. Before long, he arrived at the registration point of the managing disciple and handed over the hunted demon beast. After the managing disciple examined it, he solemnly marked the word, qualified, next to Chen Yang's name. Seeing that this matter was settled, Chen Yang cupped his fist in thanks and went straight back to the miscellaneous servant's stone house. The world shifted, and Chen Yang returned to the weird blessed land. On Lu Yuan's side, he manipulated the split soul, approaching like an invisible thread. When the split soul arrived beside Chen Yang, it slowly penetrated Chen Yang's body. In an instant, Chen Yang's clone, which had been out of Lu Yuan's control, no longer seemed dull and regained his usual expression. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. The next morning, golden sunlight, like a thin veil, gently sprinkled upon the sect square. Many disciples had already gathered here, waiting for the crucial root bone test. Chen Yang arrived at the square early. He quickly scanned the crowd and soon spotted Ma Debi's figure. Ma Debi, with a smug look on his face, strode towards Chen Yang, a disdainful expression on his face, and mocked, "Yo, Chen Yang, I see you're usually useless. When you test your root bone later, don't make everyone laugh their teeth out. Someone like you is destined to be a miscellaneous servant for life." This Ma Debi was only at the first level of the profound gathering realm. The fact that he could pass the 2 tests clearly meant that his uncle, Elder Ma, had secretly done a lot of things. In the demonic path, this kind of thing was just a small matter. Chen Yang did not pay much attention to him. Whether he could pass was not up to Ma Debi to decide. Just then, the managing disciple stood out, steadily holding the bone measuring stone in his hand, and shouted loudly, "All right, let the test begin. Come forward one by one." Before long, it was Chen Yang's turn. With a calm expression, he walked up unhurriedly and gently placed his hand on the bone measuring stone. In an instant, the bone measuring stone flashed with light. However, the result displayed caused everyone present to be stunned. Inferior grade. The managing disciple's voice rang out clearly. When miscellaneous disciples were purchased into the sect, they were indeed not subjected to root bone tests, but rather their progress in cultivating the body tempering art was used to roughly determine the quality of their root bones. All along, Chen Yang had been considered to have inferior root bones. But now, the test result was actually inferior grade, which undoubtedly gave Ma Debi a new reason to mock him. He laughed loudly a few times, pointed at Chen Yang, and said, "Haha, I knew it, you Chen Yang are a complete waste. Inferior grade root bones, and you still want to become an outer sect disciple. Keep dreaming. Just wait to become a Tao soldier." Regarding root bones, profound cultivators were naturally very clear about them. Inferior grade root bones were the worst grade, barely capable of cultivating profound arts. Slightly better than inferior grade was low grade root bones. Generally, profound cultivators with low grade root bones could smoothly enter the first level of the profound gathering realm within a year. Above that were medium grade root bones. Profound cultivators with this kind of root bone, in addition to focusing on profound cultivation, could also take some time to study various arts and skills, such as pill refining, puppet making, weapon forging, profound plant cultivation, profound beast breeding, and so on. As for the 1 in 10,000 superior grade root bones, also known as earth profound root, those with this grade of root bones absorbed profound qi extremely quickly. Cultivating for 1 day was equivalent to 10 days for those with medium grade root bones. As such, they had a lot of time to freely choose whether to focus on cultivation or delve into various arts and skills. And the most top-notch was the legendary heavenly profound root, which appeared once every 1,000 years. Those with this root bone were considered monstrous. However, even Lu Yuan did not know what specific magical aspects or characteristics this root bone had. The test continued. Unexpectedly, Ma Debi actually had medium-grade root bones, which was considered a small genius among the miscellaneous disciples. No wonder that Elder Ma is willing to nurture Ma Debi so much. Chen Yang's clone was still waiting for notification in the square. Although he had inferior grade root bones, he had qualified in the previous tests, and there was still a chance to become an outer sect disciple. The voices of the crowd rose and fell. Just then, Elder Ma appeared. He glanced around and slowly said, "Those whose code names I read out next are all qualified. Tao Soldier Peak North Armor Squad 521, 577, Yi Squad Room 423. As soon as these words came out, the whole place was in an uproar. Ma Debi jumped up anxiously, "Uncle, he has inferior grade root bones, how can he be qualified?" Elder Ma glared at him, "Silence." Chen Yang stepped forward with a smile. Elder Ma distributed outer sect disciple resources, 10 profound crystals and a bronze token, to those who were selected. After distributing the resources, he said lightly, "The bronze token is a symbol of outer sect disciple status. You can go to the scripture depository of each peak to choose a profound skill." Then Elder Ma announced the accommodation allocation for outer sect disciples. Ma Debi walked arrogantly towards the better accommodation, not forgetting to turn his head and mock Chen Yang, "So what if you become an outer sect disciple? Just you wait." Chen Yang did not bother to argue with him and silently walked towards the remote and dilapidated stone house assigned to him. Although a split soul was currently in control, his emotions were very stable. As soon as he entered the stone house, Chen Yang's clone returned to the weird blessed land. Lu Yuan took out a profound crystal the size of a fingernail. This was the first time he had seen such a complete profound crystal. Although Ma Debi only humiliated a clone, it was because of this person that the original body was scared to death. If I have the opportunity, I must avenge the original body. Lu Yuan had already secretly regarded Ma Debi as a target for revenge, and then picked up a profound crystal and began to cultivate. Comma comma. Comma comma. Comma comma. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the thin clouds and fell sparsely on the ground. Chen Yang's clone, carrying the bronze token, walked briskly towards the scripture depository. This scripture depository was where the sect collected various precious books and secret manuals. The profound skills contained within were even more dazzling and countless. When he stepped into the scripture depository, his eyes were immediately attracted by the neatly arranged bookshelves. Each bookshelf was filled with all kinds of books. Some books had already yellowed, revealing traces of time, others were as new as ever, as if they had just been placed on the shelf. Chen Yang's clone walked slowly along the bookshelf, carefully browsing the titles on it. Suddenly, his gaze stopped on a book, Open double angle bracket Annihilation of Righteousness Sword Close double angle bracket. The cover of this book looked quite ancient, with a black long sword painted on it, surrounded by a gloomy aura. Curiously, Chen Yang's clone took the book from the shelf and gently opened the pages. The book detailed the origin and characteristics of this profound skill, Annihilation of Righteousness Sword. It turned out that this Annihilation of Righteousness Sword was a common profound skill in the demonic path, coming from the distant profound Nether Holy Land. This cultivation method was extremely simple, and its power was also a relatively powerful profound art in the profound gathering realm. However, once this profound skill was cultivated, a person's state of mind would be greatly affected, gradually becoming cold and ruthless, devoid of righteousness, with only a desire for killing left in their heart. Despite knowing the dangers of this profound skill, Chen Yang's clone began to seriously study this open double angle bracket Annihilation of Righteousness Sword Close double angle bracket. At the same time, Lu Yuan, who had been paying attention to Chen Yang's clone in the weird blessed land, also knew the characteristics of this skill and suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Split soul nullification is equivalent to formatting, then this Annihilation of Righteousness Sword is very suitable for the split soul to cultivate. Chapter 12. Carrying the Tao Covenant. Inside the eerie blessed land. After Chen Yang's doppelganger successfully became an outer disciple, he obtained 5 days of cultivation time before being thrown into various tasks assigned by the corpse demon sect. In the days that followed, he behaved very ordinarily. After all, he was originally a menial disciple of the Northern Refinement Hall. Naturally, after becoming an outer disciple of the Northern Refinement Hall of Daobing Peak, he moved to the corresponding residential area. After Lu Yuan issued instructions for Chen Yang's doppelganger to diligently cultivate the body-forging art and the mind-extinguishing sword, he decided to temporarily stop paying attention. He wanted to see the cultivation effect of this doppelganger with a divided soul and how it handled matters. Days passed, and the eerie blessed land was quiet to the point of being oppressive, with an even stronger sense of eeriness. A few days later, Chen Yang's doppelganger in the outer sect successfully broke through to the 4th level of the gathering profound realm. This also alarmed Lu Yuan, and he immediately shared the memories of Chen Yang's doppelganger from the past few days, as if watching a movie. This divided soul's control over the doppelganger's cultivation effect is indeed good. In this way, the main body can save a lot of time and energy. Although Si'er Lu is currently providing cultivation points from within the corpse refining platform, calculating the time, it's almost time to let him out. Lu Yuan pondered to himself, before Si'er Lu comes out, the main body must break through to the 3rd level of the gathering profound realm. He stopped paying attention to Chen Yang's doppelganger. After all, with a divided soul, there was not much difference between how the doppelganger handled things and how the main body would. Moreover, at his current cultivation progress, breaking through to the 3rd level of the gathering profound realm was just a matter of days. The entrance to this eerie blessed land, the menial stone house, remained unchanged and immovable, only Lu Yuan's main body could move. However, Lu Yuan was not proficient in transformation profound arts. If he were to appear at will, it would surely attract attention from all sides. After all, he was currently in a dangerous place like the corpse refining platform. Once discovered by a high-level cultivator, his fate would surely be a death without a burial ground. After Chen Yang became an outer disciple and moved out, a new male menial disciple moved in. That menial disciple had a thin face, and his eyes revealed a hint of cunning and unease. Lu Yuan was able to observe the situation around the entrance to the eerie blessed land, so he naturally knew about this disciple. A few days later, cultivation points +1, Lu Yuan looked at the information displayed on his iris, a hint of surprise flashing in his eyes. With the addition of the last bit of cultivation points, he finally broke through the 200 cultivation point mark, and the capacity of the Dantian in his body expanded again as if injected with a surge of profound power. Realm. Gathering profound third level 1/400th can absorb doppelganger cultivation to improve. I finally broke through to the third level of the gathering profound realm. During this period, I only managed to get 6 cultivation points through hard work. It seems that my cultivation aptitude is really terrible, Yuan sighed helplessly, his heart full of self-deprecation. He had been immersed in closed-door cultivation and had hardly paid attention to the situation of Chen Yang's doppelganger. At this moment, he immediately descended his consciousness and learned that Chen Yang's doppelganger had already begun to carry out the tasks assigned by the corpse demon sect. These were all basic tasks: hunting profound beasts and training living puppet Daobing. Chen Yang's doppelganger also mastered the profound art of controlling soldiers, which was the basic profound art for controlling Daobing. He's handling things well. The divided soul is indeed comprehensive. Even if I were to handle these tasks, the difference wouldn't be great. Yuan nodded. However, after cultivating the mind-extinguishing sword technique, he has indeed become a bit indifferent. During a process of brutally killing profound beasts, Chen Yang's doppelganger's facial expression was calm, but his methods seemed a bit cruel, and even Yuan couldn't bear to watch. The mind-extinguishing sword is rooted in righteousness. When righteousness is gone, cultivation will reach a bottleneck. Most demonic cultivators, in order to break through, will become ruthless and unrighteous people, making themselves more indifferent. After a while, let's reset him. Wouldn't that so-called righteousness be endless? The divided soul is based on the main body's personality. Even if there are changes, once reset, it will return to the current personality of the main body. Daobing Peak, a grand hall shrouded tightly in crimson mist stood eerily. The mist seemed to have a life of its own, constantly churning and surging, emitting bursts of creepy sounds. The surrounding wind howled, like vengeful spirits wailing in the darkness. In the center of the hall was a huge blood-red pool, the blood water boiling as if heated, faintly emitting a nauseating stench. At this time, only a few figures remained in the pool. When Yuan's doppelganger, Seer Lu, jumped into the pool, there were dozens of figures who threw themselves into it together. Moreover, in the past month and a half, many people had come to this place one after another and entered this corpse refining platform. It was indeed refining people into soldiers and turning corpses into blood. Once one stepped into it, there was only one path: to leave alive. If one unfortunately died, the corpse would turn into profound blood in this platform and merge into that blood-red pool. Guarding this corpse refining platform was an old man with white hair. He was hunched over, but he stared intently at Yuan's doppelganger, Seer Lu, muttering to himself, "Strange, strange, this living puppet has already undergone 49 days of refinement, how come it still hasn't met the requirements to bear the Tao Covenant?" The so-called Tao Covenant is a unique profound art formed by the corpse demon sect through thousands of years of inheritance. For Daobing, once they successfully bear the Tao Covenant, their realm will be greatly improved, thereby becoming a powerful aid to the sect in battle. Just then, a young disciple rushed over with a hurried expression. He wore brand new sect attire, and the corners of his clothes fluttered with his eager pace. With a look of anxiety, he walked straight to the old guard and hurriedly asked, "Why haven't the Daobing who are supposed to leave the pool today left the pool yet? The sect is waiting for this batch of Daobing to be thrown into the battlefield." The old guard sighed helplessly, his face full of worry. This Daobing is still unable to bear the Tao Covenant. Forcing him to bear it would be too risky. Upon hearing this, the young disciple immediately became impatient, his brow furrowed, his tone full of complaint. "Then what should we do? We can't just wait like this forever. I think we should just force him to bear the Tao Covenant, there's no need for so many concerns." The wrinkles on the old guard's face deepened further. "That is absolutely not allowed. The pain of bearing the Tao Covenant for a living puppet is beyond imagination. This Daobing has not absorbed enough profound blood to resist it. If he is forced to bear it, he may not be able to withstand the heart-wrenching pain and be directly destroyed. Let's wait a few more days and see." The young disciple was relentless, a hint of ruthlessness flashing in his eyes, his tone forcefully pressing. "Then tell me what to do. Don't think I don't know that you, old man, have been cutting corners on the materials of the Tao platform blood pool. Now that the sect is about to engage in a great battle, if this Daobing doesn't undergo Tao Covenant bearing, and we keep dragging it on like this, neither you nor I can bear the blame from above." The old guard looked embarrassed, his face turning red and white, hesitating for a long time. Finally, he sighed deeply and compromised helplessly, "All right, then let's try it. However, if anything goes wrong, don't blame me for not reminding you." With that, he slowly walked towards the blood pool and carefully took Lu out of the pool. Lu's doppelganger had no consciousness of Lu Yuan's descent, appearing dull as wood, like an inanimate doll, completely different from the expression of relief that previous Daobing had when leaving the pool. The moment the old guard took him out, the entire northern refinement hall trembled slightly. Lu's body flickered with red light, but it was also mixed with blood-black turbulence, indicating that he was not ready to accept the Dao Covenant. The old guard gritted his teeth, unable to care so much. He quickly waved his hands, and several hand seals were formed. In an instant, on the 4 huge black iron pillars surrounding the blood pool, the profound beast patterns seemed to come alive, shooting out several black lights, like scorching hot branding irons, hitting Lu's body hard. Wherever the black light touched, Lu's skin was instantly burned, emitting black smoke, and the air was filled with the smell of burning flesh. However, the dull Lu didn't even blink an eye, a performance that made the old man, who was used to seeing the wailing and howling of previous Daobing when enduring the Dao Covenant, feel surprised again. This Daobing is really a freak. The old man couldn't help but mutter in a low voice. The black light continued to burn Lu's body, and time slowly passed in tension and torment, lasting for a full 2 hours. It was at this time that Lu Yuan, who had been diligently cultivating in the eerie blessed land, suddenly felt the growth of cultivation points stop. Immediately afterwards, a message flashed in his mind. Doppelganger Lu has broken through to the 6th level of the gathering profound realm. Lu Yuan's heart stirred, and he instantly realized that his plundering of the corpse demon sects, wool, at least for now, had come to an end. Chapter 13 Replacement Again. The night was as dark as ink. Inside the handyman's stone house, dim light barely illuminated the corners like wandering silk threads. A man, codenamed 744, curled up in the cold, damp corner like a wounded beast. He was merely an insignificant handyman disciple in the demon sect. From the moment he stepped into this demon sect, it was as if he had fallen into an endless abyss. Half a month ago, he was trafficked here and forced to enter this place filled with demonic aura. Every day, the heavy labor was like an invisible mountain, weighing him down and making it hard to breathe. Not only that, but the bullying from his fellow disciples was also ever present. Their vicious words and wanton kicks and punches filled him with fear and disgust for this place. Even the Xuanfa body tempering art, which his fellow disciples actively cultivated, he had never truly put his heart into practicing. This stone house, though damp enough to wring water from and dark as if hiding countless ghosts, was, to 744, the only haven where he could feel somewhat at ease. Here, he could temporarily forget the pain and fear he suffered during the day, and immerse himself in a moment of tranquility. However, deep in his heart, the desire for freedom was like a hidden fire, never extinguished, but the shackles of reality were too heavy, leaving him unable to move at all. 744, this cold code name, seemed to have destined him for a tragic fate from the very beginning. When he first entered the sect, 744 was told that he had to practice the body tempering art every night, otherwise the dense corpse aura and baleful energy in this demon sect would invade his body, like a poison, slowly eroding his life. Initially, 744 still harbored a glimmer of hope for survival and tried hard to cultivate. But the cruel and terrifying reality repeatedly struck him down. The bullying from his fellow disciples intensified, and the bloody and terrifying scenes in the demon sect completely collapsed his inner defenses. He gradually realized that with his aptitude, his cultivation speed was too slow, and he would ultimately be reduced to the fate of a Dao soldier. Rather than that, it was better to give up. Days passed, and 744 became increasingly lax in practicing the body tempering art. Finally, on this silent night, the flame of his life quietly went out. At this moment, in a mysterious and bizarre blessed land, Lu Yuan was observing the outside entrance through a special method. This entrance transcended the limitations of space. According to the description of the bizarre blessed land, it was impossible to detect its existence from the outside. Seeing the newly arrived handyman disciple 744 lose his life, Lu Yuan's expression was calm, without the slightest ripple. Through the memories of his original body, he knew that most of the disciples who were trafficked here could not adapt to the cruelty of the demon sect, and their ultimate fate was often death. Although Lu Yuan felt some pity in his heart, he could not expose the bizarre blessed land and bring this person in. In his opinion, the best way at present was to help 744 collect his corpse. In fact, as early as a few days ago, Yuan had discovered that 74-4 had stopped practicing the body tempering art and had foreseen his ending. Therefore, he arranged in advance for a clone to quietly descend from the bizarre blessed land to the stone house. The clone, 74-4, first skillfully put on his clothes, and then began to silently dig a pit in the corner of the stone house. This clone, identical to 74-4, buried the corpse, and a ray of sunlight struggled to penetrate the tightly closed stone door. Yuan's controlled clone, 74-4, replaced the real 74-4 and began to complete his daily handyman work as if nothing had happened. Yuan had a plan in his heart. He intended to let this clone find an opportunity to enter the Tao soldier platform, just like he had previously exploited the corpse demon sect, to provide cultivation points for his cultivation path. Time flew by like a white horse passing through a gap, and in the blink of an eye, a month quietly passed. Recently, due to the approaching war, the corpse demon sect's demand for Tao soldiers suddenly increased. The newly replaced 74-4, relying on his extraordinary proactiveness, successfully obtained a Tao soldier quota. His initiative greatly surprised Elder Ma and a group of managing disciples. After all, in this corpse demon sect, most handyman disciples were afraid of the dangers of the Tao soldier platform and wanted to survive a few more days, but 74-4 took the initiative to fight for it, which, as Elder Ma said, was indeed rare. And in this month, through the Chen Yang clone constantly completing sect tasks, he also learned some important news from various channels. The war between the righteous and demonic paths had already begun. The sect affairs hall, as the core hub of the three peaks of the corpse demon sect, was usually solemn and dignified, but at this time, the atmosphere was as heavy as substance. This was the key place for issuing tasks to formal disciples and mobilizing elders and deacons at all levels. Today, the hall was crowded with people. The rare large-scale gathering made everyone feel the urgent atmosphere of the approaching war. Chen Yang's clone arrived at the sect affairs hall early. In the crowd, he unexpectedly caught a glimpse of Chu Jing and the one-armed Seer Ju. The two of them seemed to deliberately pretend not to see him and walked straight past. Back then, they were able to become outer sect disciples thanks to Chen Yang's hunting of Zon beasts. But at this moment, they were like strangers. However, what surprised Chen Yang was that this Chu Jing seemed to be fine. Several handyman disciples were there that day, and she didn't die. Just then, the elder of the sect affairs hall walked out of the inner hall with steady steps. He was tall and straight, his aura was dignified, and his voice was thick and powerful, echoing in the hall. All outer sect disciples, listen to the order. The battle situation on the front line of the war between the righteous and demonic paths is tight. Now, you are urgently needed to go to the battlefield and contribute your strength to my corpse demon sect. For this trip, each person can go to the training ground to choose a Tao soldier to enhance their own strength. You must know that Tao soldiers are sect property, and generally speaking, outer sect disciples are not allowed to use them at will during missions. Moreover, according to the authority that disciples can master, there are two types of Tao soldiers, sect Tao soldiers and private Tao soldiers. Most disciples rent sect Tao soldiers when they go out, and only when war breaks out can they obtain Tao soldiers dispatched by the sect. The cost of refining private Tao soldiers is extremely high. To raise a Tao soldier, ordinary disciples have to go bankrupt. Chen Yang's heart stirred, and he was thinking about the war. Chu Jing directly opened her mouth, her tone with a hint of eagerness and doubt. Elder, can Tao soldiers really be chosen at will? As new outer sect disciples, they basically only mastered the art of controlling soldiers. Going to the battlefield without Tao soldiers was tantamount to sending them to their deaths. The elder nodded slightly, his expression indifferent. You can go to the training ground to choose. The greetings have already been made over there. After choosing a Tao soldier, immediately go to the sect's flying boat point to assemble. After speaking, the elder waved his hand, and his figure turned into a stream of light, instantly disappearing before everyone's eyes. Hearing this, everyone rushed towards the training ground. Before long, everyone arrived at the training ground. On the training ground, various Tao soldiers stood neatly, like soldiers waiting for review. These were all living puppet Tao soldiers, wearing heavy armor and purple skin, holding long spears, and emitting a strong aura of death around them, like a moving iceberg, making people afraid to approach. Chen Yang's clone shuttled between the Tao soldiers, his eyes constantly scanning like an eagle. Suddenly, his gaze fixed on a Tao soldier. It was the Tao soldier transformed by the clone Seer Lu. For some reason, most outer sect disciples turned a blind eye to Seer Lu and went to choose other Tao soldiers. Should the cultivation realms of these living puppet Dao soldiers be secretly exposed? Chen Yang's clone secretly speculated. In the demon sect, a place full of conspiracies and calculations, this kind of thing was not impossible. After all, Seer Lu barely carried the Dao contract, and compared to other living puppet Dao soldiers, it did not have an advantage in terms of cultivation realm. Chen Yang's clone was certain in his heart, and walked closer to Seer Lu. Seer Lu was dull and wooden. At this time, Lu Yuan controlled it to lower its head slightly, showing a submissive posture. Just then, Chu Jing's sharp voice suddenly came from the side, "I want this Dao soldier." Chen Yang heard this and showed a look of surprise, wondering why this Chu Jing wanted to publicly compete with him for a Dao soldier. Chen Yang's clone frowned instantly, a trace of displeasure flashed in his eyes, and he looked coldly at Chu Jing. "Don't you understand the principle of first come, first served?" Chu Jing didn't care, snorted coldly, and turned to look at the managing disciple of the training ground. She raised her head slightly, a sweet smile on her face, and said, "Zhao Sheng, senior brother, can you give me this Dao soldier?" The managing disciple of the training ground had already been fascinated by Chu Jing's beautiful appearance, and without thinking, he smiled and said, "Yes." Seeing this, Chen Yang's clone shook his head helplessly. He thought to himself that this Chu Jing really didn't know what was good for her. He had been kind to her in the past, but now she was acting like this. As for these Dao soldiers, Chen Yang knew clearly that it was hard to say whether other Dao soldiers would listen to him, but Seer Lu was 100% obedient to him. Chu Jing's competition was just asking for trouble. Chen Yang didn't care much and casually chose a living puppet Dao soldier. However, Chu Jing walked over and smiled. "I will repay the humiliation you gave me 100-fold." In fact, in Chen Yang's opinion, that day was just Chu Jing asking for trouble. Chapter 14. The Battle Between Good and Evil. In the sky, dark clouds surged like waves, layer upon layer, seemingly wanting to devour all things in the world. The bugle call for the flying ships to go into battle was like a rolling, deep thunder, exploding over the corpse demon sect. Outer sect disciples, clad in black robes and wielding the standard long swords issued by the sect, stood upon the flying ships, rushing away like ink clouds. Chen Yang's clone was among them. Lu Yuan's main body could not appear due to various reasons, otherwise, he could have used this opportunity to plot his escape from the corpse demon sect. There were several such flying ships, containing thousands of profound cultivators, including direct disciples, inner disciples, and outer disciples. A day later, the flying ships arrived at a dilapidated sect ruin. The once glorious buildings now only had broken walls and ruins, and an atmosphere of decay and vicissitudes permeated the surroundings like haze. Broken steles and collapsed halls narrated the past glory and present desolation in the wind. On the ground, huge cracks, like hideous scars, demonstrated the once mighty power. Upon seeing this, Chen Yang's clone couldn't help but sigh. Such power, placed in my previous life, would be akin to a surgical strike. Most of the disciples were unable to make their own decisions regarding this war, and were only obeying the sect's decrees to act as cannon fodder. On the other side of the ruins, righteous cultivators, clad in white, wielding spirit swords, resembled sacred snow leopards, forming a clear contrast with the corpse demon sect, who were wrapped in black robes. They were disciples of the Star Sword sect, who had been fighting with the corpse demon sect for thousands of years, with extremely deep-seated grudges. At this moment, both sides were at daggers drawn, the atmosphere as tense as a fully drawn bowstring, ready to explode at any moment. As each side's leader gave an order, the disciples of both the righteous and demonic paths jumped off the flying ships one after another, rushing towards each other like tigers descending the mountain. The shouts of killing suddenly rose, like a surging tide, exploding in this dilapidated ruin. The righteous cultivators shouted righteous slogans, rushing towards the corpse demon sect with great momentum, while the corpse demon sect disciples were not to be outdone, chanting incantations and controlling Dao soldiers to meet the enemy. For a time, the light of swords and sabers intertwined, and the light of profound arts crisscrossed, illuminating the entire ruin with colorful light, but also revealing endless bloodshed. On the corpse demon sect side, there were not only newly entered outer sect disciples, but also some inner sect disciples controlling superior Dao soldiers. Those burly Dao soldiers, wielding huge battle axes, carried the majestic power of splitting mountains and cracking rocks with every strike, tearing open gaps in the righteous cultivators' defenses. As the battle axes fell, the ground instantly cracked, and gravel splashed, causing the righteous cultivators to feel their blood churning. These Dao soldiers all possessed strength above the late stage of gathering profound. It was almost impossible for cultivators of the same realm to get close to him. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's, and with the unique vision of soul projection, he constantly paid attention to the battle situation, vigilantly searching for the flaws of the righteous cultivators. At this moment, a righteous cultivator caught his attention. This person seemed ordinary, but was intentionally or unintentionally approaching Chen Yang during the battle. During a lull in the fighting, the righteous profound cultivator took advantage of the chaos to quietly transmit a voice to Chen Yang. I am a hidden agent of the demonic path, I have something to discuss. Chen Yang was shocked and subconsciously tightened the standard long sword in his hand. On the flying ship when they came, the elder had told them that if anyone claimed to be a hidden agent of the demonic path, they could communicate with them. But at this moment, he still pretended to be fighting hard on the surface, his eyes vigilantly scanning the surroundings. The two found a hidden place, as if secretly fighting each other. After confirming that no one was paying attention, Chen Yang responded in a low voice, "Why choose me? And how can you prove that you are a hidden agent?" The righteous profound cultivator looked solemn, leaned in slightly, and lowered his voice. "I saw that you were calm and composed when fighting, and the extinguishing righteousness sword was displayed with perfection, so I chose you. How can I easily believe you?" Chen Yang looked puzzled. "Look." A wisp of gray profound energy appeared in the righteous profound cultivator's hand, which was the aura of the body tempering art. "What does this prove?" Chen Yang was still skeptical. The body tempering art was just a basic demonic path profound art, and it was not difficult for righteous people to cultivate it if they wanted to. "Oh, it seems you are a newly entered outer sect disciple." The righteous profound cultivator looked calm. As soon as these words came out, although Chen Yang's expression did not change, he was already somewhat convinced. If he were not a hidden agent of the demonic path, how could he know so much about the affairs of the demonic sect? However, he still continued to ask, "So what?" "Haha, okay, I will tell you the truth of the demonic path. Once this body tempering art is cultivated, it will be bound to the corpse demon sect for life." The righteous profound cultivator said with a helpless smile. Chen Yang frowned, a hint of suspicion flashed in his eyes, staring at the righteous hidden agent, and said in a cold voice, "What do you mean by this?" The righteous hidden agent gave a helpless wry smile, a trace of worry revealed in his eyes, and slowly said, "Any profound cultivator who cultivates the body tempering art will not be able to stop cultivating. Moreover, once the bottleneck is reached, they must obtain the upper-level cultivation method, otherwise, there is only a dead end." Chen Yang's heart trembled. He had already noticed that there were hidden dangers in this body tempering art, but he did not expect it to be so serious. Lu Yuan, the main body, had also cultivated this cultivation method. After thinking for a moment, he slowly said, "Okay, I will trust you for now. Tell me, what news do you want me to pass on?" The righteous hidden agent smiled and said, "You only need to go back and tell the elder that the hidden agent Wu Ming has found out that the righteous path is searching for a strange Dao fruit in the ruins of the demon-subduing profound sect, which is now found in the hidden treasure pavilion in the northern district." Chen Yang's clone nodded. "Okay, I know." After the conversation, the two pretended to fight and left separately. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. In the strange blessed land. Is this the demonic path? I previously thought that as long as the main body escaped, I could regain freedom, but now it seems that I need to inquire about the news first and verify whether what the hidden agent Wu Ming said is true. Lu Yuan was filled with helplessness after learning that the profound art he cultivated, the body tempering art, had such a big problem, and then began to think about countermeasures. If what he said is true, I must find a solution. And what exactly is the so-called strange Dao fruit? Both it and this strange blessed land have the word, strange, in their names. Is there any connection between them? While thinking, a prompt suddenly came from his mind. Cultivation points +1. Lu Yuan recalled that after some handyman disciples stopped cultivating the body tempering art, they gradually died. He originally thought that it was caused by the corpse demon sect's heavy evil aura and corpse aura, but now that he thought about it, it was actually because they stopped cultivating the body tempering art. After I can obtain cultivation points, even if I stop cultivating for a long time, it will be fine. It seems that this is related to cultivation points. But I have not yet reached the bottleneck. If I don't break through, it seems that I will still be difficult to escape death. I can only take it one step at a time. Lu Yuan secretly analyzed his own situation. In this dangerous demonic path sect, every step is full of unknowns and challenges, and he must carefully explore the way to survive. Dot 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 dot. Dot 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 dot. Chen Yang's clone returned to the temporary camp set up by the demonic path. As soon as he stepped into the camp, he saw Ma Debi standing there. He was very surprised that this relative could come. It seemed that Elder Ma of the Miscellaneous Affairs Office still had limited power, or there were other reasons. When Ma Debi saw Chen Yang, a mocking smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Yo, you came back alive." Chen Yang was too lazy to pay attention to him and walked straight forward. Ma Debi, however, refused to give up and blocked his way. "What's wrong, so rude? Are you scared out of your wits on the battlefield?" Chen Yang snorted coldly in his heart, and suddenly smiled. "I got a message from a sect's hidden agent on the battlefield, how about I let you take the credit?" Ma Debi's eyes lit up. "What message? Tell me quickly." Chen Yang deliberately told him the news. "Are you going to say it or not? If you go, how about we write off our grievances?" As soon as Ma Debi heard this, greed arose, but he still shook his head. He didn't believe Lu Yuan. Seeing this, Chen Yang shrugged helplessly, secretly scolding this kid for being too cautious. He didn't say anything more, and directly bypassed Ma Debi and walked towards the camp tent where the elder was. Chen Yang entered the camp tent and respectfully reported the news he had obtained from the righteous hidden agent to Elder Zan Shifang, who was leading them. After hearing this, Elder Zan Shifang's expression first became stern, and then a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. He patted Chen Yang's shoulder heavily, with a face full of praise. "Well done. You have made a great contribution this time, and this elder will definitely not treat you badly." The voice came from the camp tent, making Ma Debi's face extremely ugly. Chapter 15, The Prodigy of the Star Sword Sect. An unknown sect's ruins, a scene of sheer hell. Broken limbs and severed arms lay scattered in disarray, fresh blood gurgling and flowing, staining the earth into a bizarre crimson. The air was thick with the heavy scent of death. As a leader among the righteous sects, the Star Sword sect's disciples generally possessed cultivation realms far exceeding those of the Corpse Demon sect. In this chaotic battlefield, many disciples like Chen Yang, who had only recently joined the outer sect of the Corpse Demon sect, were present. Their survival in this brutal slaughter was largely attributed to the protection of the Dao soldiers. This was the unique advantage of the Corpse Demon sect. Even disciples with limited cultivation could secure a place on the battlefield with the aid of Dao soldiers. Of course, the righteous path also had its strengths. The righteous Zan cultivators had a vast base, like the trees in a sprawling forest, numerous in quantity. Moreover, the elimination rate during their growth was not as strict as that of the demonic path, allowing them to steadily cultivate many disciples with considerable strength. However, Chen Yang still believed that Dao soldiers were easier to develop than ordinary Zan cultivators or even demonic cultivators, and he had personally witnessed the power of Dao soldiers on the battlefield. Especially the Dao soldier formations. Generally, 3 Dao soldiers could form a basic offensive formation. With their demonic blades and spears, they unleashed torrents of black demonic Zan Qi with each swing, forcing the Star Sword sect disciples to evade wherever it passed. Absorb the fate of a Zan cultivator, 1 point. Absorb the fate of a Zan cultivator, 1 point. Absorb the fate of a Zan cultivator, 1 point. Far away in the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan's mind was constantly receiving information about gaining fate points. Having witnessed the power of the Dao soldier formations, he couldn't help but wonder if he could establish a blood pool. Perhaps he could refine all his clones into powerful Dao soldiers. Previously, his clone Seer Lu had become a living puppet Dao soldier. From the caretaker's conversation with others, Chen Yang learned that refining a blood pool was extremely difficult, requiring not only a large number of rare materials but also an astonishing amount of energy to maintain its operation, making it incredibly challenging to possess a blood pool. The current fate points have reached over 70. As expected, the battlefield is a good place to obtain fate points, but the Corpse Demon sect seems to be declining, and the righteous Star Sword sect is still stronger. After several days of direct confrontation, the advantages of the righteous path gradually became apparent. Lu Yuan had already analyzed the situation. The righteous path, relying on its large number of Zan cultivators, was like a tide, wave after wave impacting the demonic path's defenses. Although the Corpse Demon sect fought desperately, it was ultimately unable to withstand the overwhelming offensive of the righteous path and gradually began to collapse. However, the high-level members of the Corpse Demon sect issued a decree requiring these outer sect disciples to continue resisting. Through Chen Yang's clone, looking at the surrounding scene of corpses strewn across the field, Lu Yuan felt a mix of emotions. He knew that continuing to resist might lead to certain death, but as a disciple of the corpse demon sect, obeying the decree was his mission. Unless absolutely necessary, Lu Yuan still didn't want to lose this talented clone. Fortunately, Chen Yang's clone had mastered a superb destruction righteousness sword technique, and the combination of Chen Yang's clone and the living puppet Dao soldier allowed him to survive on the meat grinder battlefield. Moreover, for Lu Yuan, such an environment was an opportunity to earn fate points. On the battlefield, the disciples of the Corpse Demon sect and the Star Sword sect were engaged in fierce fighting, all at the Gathering Zon realm. Even though the Corpse Demon sect was somewhat weakened, it could still resist. However, an elongated figure drifted down from the sky at some unknown time. He stood firmly on the cloud, like the peak of a mountain, exuding an unspeakable majesty, making people afraid to approach easily. He was also like a dazzling sun, illuminating the entire sky, making everyone pay attention. The corner of this person's mouth raised slightly, revealing a confident smile, and said softly, "Heavenly falling star sword." With a wave of the long sword in his hand, in an instant, countless stars in the sky seemed to fall like swords, crashing towards the demonic path's battlefield with a world-destroying aura. After a thunderous roar, the entire battlefield instantly exploded, dirt and rocks splattering everywhere. The disciples of the Corpse Demon sect, like ants, were killed and injured countless under this terrifying attack. It's Long Yinzi, the heavenly pride of the Star Sword sect's replenishing palace. Everyone, run! A Corpse Demon sect disciple recognized the figure in the sky and shouted. Above the Gathering Zon realm is the replenishing palace. However, even among the replenishing palace experts, few could display such Zon techniques. Long Yinzi's aura was majestic, as if the power of the stars was gathered in one body. Obviously, he was only in the early stage of the replenishing palace, but his strength was still so terrifying. On the other hand, no Zon cultivators capable of contending with him appeared on the demonic path's side at this moment. The disciples were immediately filled with fear, their formations were disrupted, and they began to collapse, forced to flee in a disheveled manner towards the rear. Chen Yang witnessed this scene, his heart filled with shock and helplessness. Looking at Long Yinzi's godlike figure, he lamented the gap between himself and such a strong person, as different as heaven and earth. On this cruel battlefield, he was just a drop in the ocean. To reach such a height one day, he would have to endure countless hardships and dangers. Just when the Corpse Demon sect disciples were almost in despair, the originally bright sky suddenly darkened, as if covered by a huge black curtain. Immediately afterward, a huge flying boat appeared out of nowhere, and a strong dark aura poured out from it, like a substantial black mist spreading out, making people feel cold. Everyone looked up in astonishment, only to see a group of people in black robes standing on the flying boat. Their figures were ghostly, their black robes fluttering, and each person exuded a strange and dangerous aura. "It's the people from the Death Shadow sect." Someone in the Star Sword sect's crowd shouted in horror. The Death Shadow sect, a heretical sect in the demonic path, had always acted mysteriously and used extremely cruel methods. Wherever they went, lives were devastated. Their notoriety was known to everyone in the Zon cultivator world. As soon as the Death Shadow sect appeared, they pounced on the Star Sword sect disciples like hungry wolves. The techniques they used were extremely sinister, each strike carrying a chilling corrosive force. One of the black-robed men waved his hands, and two streams of black poisonous mist, like two hideous pythons, darted towards the Star Sword sect disciples' crowd. Wherever they passed, the air seemed to be corroded, making a sizzling sound. The Star Sword sect disciples who touched the poisonous mist instantly screamed miserably, and the clothes and skin on their bodies quickly rotted. Although the Star Sword sect disciples were strong, they were somewhat flustered by this sudden attack. Their originally neat formation was disrupted, and they had to deal with it hastily. Long Yinzi realized that the situation was not good and had to spare some energy to organize the Star Sword sect disciples to resist the Death Shadow sect's attack. With the addition of the Death Shadow sect, the already chaotic battlefield situation instantly became more complicated. Taking advantage of Long Yinzi's distraction in dealing with the Death Shadow sect, the disciples of the Corpse Demon sect fled in all directions, and Chen Yang was caught up in it. While fleeing to a mountain forest, a figure rushed out, his eyes bloodshot. It was Ma Debi, who roared to avenge Lu Yan against Chen Yang. He waved a dark long sword and lunged at Chen Yang. Chen Yang dodged to the side and quickly controlled the living puppet Dao soldier to counterattack. At the same time, Ma Debi released his own living puppet Dao soldier from the corpse bag. A figure in purple-skinned heavy armor appeared, exuding a faint green light, revealing an eerie aura. This corpse bag was a good thing, worth at least 100 Zon crystals, which most new outer sect disciples could not afford. The two living puppets instantly entangled, Zon power fluctuations scattered amidst the sound of metal collisions. Ma Debi's living puppet Dao soldier was obviously stronger than Chen Yang's. Taking advantage of the living puppet's fight, Chen Yang used the Destruction Righteousness sword technique to fight Ma Debi up close. Ma Debi took out a dark long sword and fought Chen Yang in close combat. His wildly swinging swordsmanship actually forced Chen Yang to retreat steadily for a time. Ma Debi is only at the second level of the Gathering Zon realm, why is he so strong? It's this long sword Zon artifact. Chen Yang's clone immediately noticed the clue. He no longer held back, condensed Zon power and rushed towards the fallen Ma Debi, fully displaying the Destruction Righteousness sword. Chapter 16 Blood Demon Soldiers. As Zon skills, which are Zon cultivators, means of attack, Chen Yang's doppelganger mastered two in the month or so since becoming an outer sect disciple, the Extinguish Righteousness sword and the Control Soldier technique. Don't underestimate it, among the newly entered outer sect disciples, he is already a leader. Most other disciples of the same period only know the Control Soldier technique. Therefore, at this moment, Chen Yang used the Extinguish Righteousness sword with all his might, directly blocking the dark long sword and instantly piercing several bloody holes in Ma Debi. Chen Yang's living puppet Dao soldier also seized the opportunity when Ma Debi's living puppet Dao soldier was momentarily distracted due to its master's injury, launching a fierce attack. Its figure flashed, closing in on the opponent, its hands locking tightly onto the living puppet Dao soldier's arms like iron pincers, and then it twisted with a sudden burst of force, accompanied by a series of teeth-aching, crack-crack sounds. The living puppet Dao soldier's arms were actually twisted off. The living puppet Dao soldier, having lost its arms, immediately lost its ability to resist and collapsed to the ground. The sudden change caused Ma Debi to turn around and try to run, but he tripped over himself. A surge of ruthlessness welled up in Chen Yang's heart, and he no longer held back, condensing all the Zon power in his body and rushing towards the fallen Ma Debi regardless of the consequences. Before Ma Debi could get up, Chen Yang had already arrived in front of him like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, his hands fiercely grabbing Ma Debi's neck like eagle claws. Ma Debi struggled desperately, his hands trying in vain to pry open Chen Yang's hands. You really are useless, playing a good hand so badly. Chen Yang's doppelganger shook his head helplessly, his hands like iron pincers, tightening more and more. Finally, Ma Debi's eyes rolled back, he spat out a mouthful of black blood, and lost his breath. Chen Yang threw the corpse aside, picked up the dark long sword that had fallen beside Ma Debi, and immediately a surge of cold power poured into his body and fused with the Zon power. He knew that this was a first-order top-grade Zon treasure. Compared to the standard first-order low-grade long sword issued by the sect, the quality was much higher, and it even had the effect of amplifying Zon power. Just then, shouts from Star Sword sect disciples came from the distance. Chen Yang inserted the long sword into his waist, and also searched Ma Debi's corpse, obtaining a corpse bag and several hundred Zon crystals. Then, he controlled his living puppet Dao soldier and quickly disappeared into the vast night. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. Chen Yang ran wildly, his figure shuttling through the mountains and forests like a ghost. He arrived at the base camp, panting for breath. However, the scene before him was of collapsed tents everywhere, the thick supports twisted and deformed, mottled bloodstains spreading recklessly, some already dry and appearing dark black. The once lively camp was now filled with a chilling silence, with only the occasional sound of the wind, like the wails of the dead. Chen Yang came to the main tent and found a shadow stone emitting a faint light. He hurriedly stepped forward and squatted down, gently touching it. In an instant, a slightly illusory figure slowly emerged. It was Elder Fang. He sighed slightly and said slowly, "All surviving disciples, return to the sect on your own." Hearing this news, a bitter smile couldn't help but appear on the corner of Chen Yang's mouth. You should know that the flying boat is now long gone. Without this convenient means of transportation, it would take at least half a month to return to the sect. Along the way, it would be wilderness, full of dangers, and one might encounter ferocious Zon beasts or lurking enemies at any time. Thinking of these things, Chen Yang's heart felt heavy. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. Half a month later, Chen Yang's doppelganger, dragging a disheveled figure, slowly arrived outside the square market at the foot of the Corpse Demon Sect mountain. His hair was disheveled, his face was covered in dust, and his clothes were tattered, as if he had experienced countless tears and moly, extremely embarrassed. At this moment, he saw a group of people, among them was an acquaintance, the steward's senior brother from the handyman department. Thinking of the past, this steward's senior brother was really hateful. In the past, Lu Yuan's main body and Chen Yang's doppelganger were often made things difficult for him. Not only were all kinds of chores and tiring work assigned to them, but he also often deducted their deserved cultivation resources under various pretexts, taking away many of their benefits. Although Chen Yang's heart was full of disgust, he still squeezed out a smile and stepped forward to greet him. "Senior brother, what important matter are you busy with?" The steward's senior brother snorted with his nostrils facing the sky, squinting at Chen Yang, his eyes full of disdain. "Yo, isn't this Chen Yang? I'm buying some handymen to go back and work, it's not your turn to ask about this. As for you, look at your embarrassed appearance, could it be that you've caused some monstrous disaster outside?" After saying that, he proudly pointed to the group of shrinking mortals behind him, some men and some women. Chen Yang snorted coldly in his heart, but still smiled on his face, and said respectfully, how dare I, senior brother, you're joking. I just returned from the remains battlefield, and after experiencing many twists and turns, I ended up like this. Senior brother, you're buying so many handymen this time, presumably the sect is short of manpower." The steward's senior brother raised his chin triumphantly, and said as if exhaling through his nostrils, "You kid is really lucky. Many disciples in the sect have died in the remains battlefield recently, and there is a great shortage of manpower. Hurry back to the sect to report, and don't be an eyesore here." Chen Yang nodded hurriedly, and said with a smile, "Senior brother, I'll go back now." When he walked past the group of handymen, he saw them shrinking tightly together in fear, their eyes full of fear and helplessness. They were wearing tattered clothes, their figures were thin and weak, as if a gust of wind could blow them down. Chen Yang looked at them and sighed secretly. Life is like grass, either sitting at the dinner table or on the dinner table. A plan took shape quietly in his heart. Lu Yuan in the weird blessed land pondered secretly. This steward's senior brother has done many evil deeds on weekdays, why not secretly kill him and let the doppelganger impersonate a new handyman disciple to mix in? In this way, we can use this opportunity to let the doppelganger become a new Tao soldier and how the cultivation points of the blood pool. However, before that, we have to find a way to get out of the demon sect first, otherwise the doppelganger will not be able to leave the weird blessed land. And Chen Yang outside the square market flashed a resolute look in his eyes, but on the surface, he remained calm and followed the steward's senior brother and the group of handymen towards the sect. Tao Soldier Peak, Sect Affairs Hall. Chen Yang's doppelganger stepped into the spacious hall, and a solemn atmosphere permeated the hall. On the surrounding bookshelves, there were neatly arranged rows of jade slips, and many deacon disciples were shuttling among them, busy with their respective tasks. Chen Yang came to a deacon, bowed slightly, and said respectfully, "Senior brother, I am Chen Yang, who returned from the remains battlefield, and I am here to report." When the deacon heard this, he nodded slightly, looked Chen Yang up and down, and a trace of scrutiny flashed in his eyes, and said, "This remains battlefield is extremely dangerous, you can actually come back alive, you can be considered to have some ability. Wait a moment, I'll report to Elder Fang." Before long, the deacon returned in a hurry, with a faint smile on his face, and said, "Junior brother, please come this way." Chen Yang hurriedly followed the deacon through the winding corridor to a remote pavilion. The gate of the pavilion was tightly closed, and a faint chill seeped out from the crack in the door, making people shiver involuntarily. An elder in a black robe was sitting in the main seat in the hall. It was Elder Fang who was in charge of managing Chen Yang before the war. "Chen Yang is here." Elder Fang's voice was low and hoarse, as if it came from the depths of darkness. "Yes, Elder Fang," the deacon responded respectfully. "Come in." Chen Yang took a deep breath, stepped into the pavilion, and hurriedly bowed respectfully. Elder Fang raised his hand slightly and said, "This time on the battlefield, you have made no small contribution." As he spoke, a light flashed in Elder Fang's hand, and a jade slip appeared, handing it to Chen Yang's doppelganger, and continued, "This is the method of training the blood demon Tao soldier, you should keep it well. This blood demon Tao soldier needs to be refined with Zon cultivators with similar bloodlines. Once refined successfully, the Tao soldier will have the powerful ability to fight beyond its level, which will be of great benefit to your future cultivation and development. In addition, I will give you 500 Zon crystals, and I hope you will cultivate well." Chen Yang's doppelganger looked overjoyed, hurriedly took the jade slip and Zon crystals with both hands, and bowed respectfully. "Thank you for the elder's cultivation, this disciple will definitely live up to your expectations." The corpse demon sect has always been stingy with its disciples, and now Chen Yang was very surprised by such a generous reward. However, after understanding the blood demon Dao soldier, he also understood that the demon sect was still as stingy as ever. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 17 Planning. The corpse demon sect, after the battle with the Star Sword sect, suffered the loss of many disciples, but this did not seem to have much impact on the disciples within the sect. Outside the North Refinement Hall's outer sect disciple residential area, neatly arranged wooden houses stood quietly in the warm sunlight, which were obviously much more comfortable than the stone houses where the servants lived. A group of disciples were gathered in front of a wooden house, talking with focused expressions. It turned out that the matter of the Dao fruits had spread within the sect. An outer sect senior brother stood in the middle, vividly explaining cases involving the strange fruits. "I heard that the wars are inseparable from these strange Dao fruits. Legend has it that after strange events occur, strange objects will form, including Dao fruits." This senior brother cleared his throat and continued, "What are strange events? Do you know? Take the ruins where the strange Dao fruit was formed this time. Thousands of years ago, it was the location of the powerful demon subduing profound sect. However, overnight, hundreds of thousands of profound cultivators disappeared into thin air, as if they had evaporated from the world. And that place was sealed and forbidden by powerful profound techniques, and the seal was only lifted in recent years. So that's how it is." The disciples listened attentively, and some couldn't help but exclaim in a low voice. That demon subduing profound sect, how glorious it once was. There were countless strong individuals in the sect, awe-inspiring in one area, but who would have thought that it would be destroyed overnight? Some say that they angered the taboos of heaven and earth, attracting a catastrophic strangeness, and some say that strong individuals from outside the heavens invaded and slaughtered them all. But the truth is unknown. After the seal was lifted, the profound cultivators of the Star Sword sect and our corpse demon sect went to explore and discovered traces of the strange Dao fruit. The senior brother's gaze swept over the crowd, with a hint of mystery in his eyes. "Then what is so magical about this strange Dao fruit?" a young disciple couldn't help but ask. The senior brother smiled slightly and said, "This strange Dao fruit is said to contain endless wonders. If one can obtain and refine it, their strength will advance by leaps and bounds, increase their lifespan, and even form a kind of supernatural power. But at the same time, it is also accompanied by great risks. If one is not careful, they will be eroded by the strange power in the Dao fruit and pay the corresponding price." Upon hearing this, everyone couldn't help but gasp. The disciples' hearts were filled with longing for the power of the Dao fruit. Chen Yang's clone listened for a long time and didn't say much. Although what these disciples were spreading were rumors, there were also credible points. The next day, the cold wind was like a knife, wantonly blowing through the servant area of the North Refinement Hall. This place seemed even more desolate. Even though a new batch of servant disciples had been purchased, the number was still like withering leaves, becoming less and less, and most of them were taken to be Dao soldiers. Chen Yang's clone, with the living puppet Dao soldier wearing a floor-length black robe, suddenly appeared here. As a formal outer sect disciple, very few people came to the servant area. The disciples in the current servant area had changed a lot of new faces, but there were still a few sharp-eyed ones who recognized Chen Yang at a glance. Among them, a few with slightly more courage hurriedly greeted him with a smile on their faces. Chen Yang just raised his head slightly, nodded proudly, as a response, and then indifferently ignored the others. The servant disciples, upon seeing this, all dared to be angry but dared not speak out. After all, in this corpse demon sect, offending an outer sect disciple was like courting death. If an outer sect disciple killed a servant disciple, they only needed to compensate with a little profound crystal to settle the matter. Chen Yang glanced around, pondered in his heart, and then walked towards the servant stone house where the main body, Yuan, was located. Along the way, the cold wind howled, blowing his clothes loudly. When he arrived in front of the stone house, he cautiously looked around to make sure no one was there before gently pushing open the dilapidated wooden door. After entering the stone house, Chen Yang put the living puppet wearing the black robe into the corpse bag he got from Madaway. Immediately afterwards, the main body, Yuan, walked out slowly from the strange blessed land with a calm expression, quickly put on the black robe, and pretended to be a Dao soldier. Then, under the leadership of Chen Yang's clone, the two of them blatantly left the corpse demon sect. They came to the market town at the foot of the mountain outside the sect. This was also the outermost layer of the corpse demon sect, dark and eerie like a ghost realm. A faint layer of black mist filled both sides of the street, making the already dim light even more hazy. Most of the passing cultivators were sallow and haggard, with a listless look, not knowing whether they were forcibly imprisoned here or came here voluntarily for some purpose. Chen Yang led Lu Yuan through the market town and finally found a dilapidated inn. The inn's signboard was teetering, making a creak, creak sound in the wind, as if it would fall at any time. Only half of the lantern at the door remained, emitting a weak and eerie light. Chen Yang nodded slightly, and the moment he stepped into the inn, a rotten aura rushed towards him. This place would serve as a temporary entrance to the strange blessed land. Seeing the outer sect disciple of the corpse demon sect enter, the waiter here respectfully arranged for them. After the two arrived in a room, Lu Yuan immediately took off his black robe and returned to the strange blessed land. The main body was actually safer here compared to being in the corpse demon sect. However, there was still danger, and he could only truly leave the corpse demon sect after Chen Yang's clone obtained the exit permit. The northern area of the ruins battlefield, more than half a month had passed leisurely. At that time, the disciples of the corpse demon sect were numerous, but now most of them had left. However, there were still some unlucky people who were deeply trapped in this quagmire of war and could not escape. Chu Jing was one of them. At this moment, her clothes were ragged, almost unbearable, occasionally revealing her skin, and her expression was embarrassed. She was struggling to resist the pursuit of the Star Sword sect disciples behind her. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed past her eyes like a ghost. Chu Jing was full of resentment and almost collapsed. She cursed with a crying voice, "Why are you running faster than me, you Dao soldier?" In the beginning, she had snatched the Dao soldier that he had picked to annoy Chen Yang. Who would have expected that this Dao soldier was a freak? Ordinary Dao soldiers charged into battle and blocked dangers for their masters, but this Dao soldier pushed her forward whenever there was trouble. Fortunately, Chu Jing was cunning and cleverly used various methods to induce other disciples to block disasters for herself, so she could survive until now. However, this Dao soldier was not entirely useless. His intelligence far exceeded that of other Dao soldiers, and he could often find his own way to escape. Several times in times of crisis, Chu Jing had avoided disaster with him. He is useless in facing enemies head-on, but he is a good hand at running away. Chu Jing sighed helplessly and followed. After avoiding this pursuit by the Star Sword sect, Chu Jing rested for a while and wanted to return to the sect. She did not return to the stronghold and naturally did not know that the sect had already issued a retreat order. However, based on observation, she could also determine that the corpse demon sect had already withdrawn. Si'er Lu, let's go. At this time, they were hiding in a pit, but the living puppet Si'er Lu was like a wooden sculpture, motionless. Seeing this, Chu Jing shouted a few more times, but the Dao soldier did not respond. She shook her head helplessly. This was a common problem with this living puppet. He often seemed to lose his soul like this. But Chu Jing wanted to escape from this place and still needed to rely on the strength of the living puppet's 6th level of gathering profound. Helpless, she had to carry the living puppet on her back and continue on her way. With the ability of a profound cultivator, carrying a living puppet on her back was not difficult. This was also her usual method. It was just that ordinary sect profound cultivators mostly used Dao soldiers to pull carts, and the scene of a profound cultivator carrying a Dao soldier on her back like her was really rare. But fate did not seem to intend to let Chu Jing off easily. Just when she thought she had temporarily escaped the crisis, the pursuit of the Star Sword sect followed like a shadow and descended again. Several figures appeared behind her. In a panic, a thought flashed through Chu Jing's mind. She wanted to discard the living puppet in order to reduce the burden and speed up her escape. But on second thought, she knew that this would not only fail to get her out of the predicament but would also likely put herself in a situation of eternal doom. She decisively carried the living puppet on her back and hid in a dilapidated hall. The plaque above read the 3 characters, "Good Medicine Hall." The surrounding area was filled with an atmosphere of decay and oldness, and strange lights occasionally flickered on the broken walls. Suddenly, a gust of wind roared past, stirring up the dust and gravel on the ground, blurring Chu Jing's vision. She stepped on air and fell into an abyss, starting a free fall. After the dust settled slightly, Chu Jing found herself in an extremely hidden underground secret room. Chapter 18 Implementation Plan. Inside the underground chamber, a musty odor wafted out, laced with faint wisps of herbal fragrance, a scent reminiscent of time's accumulated mysteries. The light was dim and ghostly, with only a few strands of eerie green light seeping in from an unknown source, like spectral tendrils, barely outlining the blurry surroundings. This place was within the territory of the Great Sect, the demon-subduing mysterious sect, and naturally, there were many secret chambers. Such secret chambers were always a blend of danger and opportunity, like double-edged swords hidden in the darkness. Chu Jing wore a wary expression, as if facing a formidable enemy, her eyes scanning the surroundings like a hawk, before placing the living puppet 426 aside, and cautiously feeling her way forward. Her gaze was quickly drawn to the dense array of strange runes carved into the wall, their surfaces faintly glowing. At the same time, hundreds of miles away, Yuan, situated in the strange blessed land, keenly sensed the abnormality on Chu Jing's side. A sudden thought struck him, and his consciousness instantly descended upon the living puppet clone. This Chu Jing is usually insidious and cunning. Fortunately, with the powerful force of the strange blessed land, I can resist external control and ensure that I have 100% control over the living puppet Dao soldier, preventing Chu Jing from using me as cannon fodder. Yuan inwardly grumbled. He had personally witnessed this person trick and kill countless corpse demon sect disciples. Chu Jing was engrossed in studying the runes when, unexpectedly, she triggered a mechanism underfoot. A sharp whistling sound pierced the air, and several cold, gleaming arrows shot out within the chamber. Chu Jing was greatly alarmed and dodged swiftly, narrowly avoiding the deadly projectiles. Yuan, controlling the living puppet 426, arrived like a gust of wind, steadily shielding Chu Jing and taking the brunt of the arrows. Chu Jing initially trembled, but upon seeing that it was Yuan's living puppet, her expression relaxed, and she scolded, "Can't you not screw up at critical moments, you living dead thing?" Yuan's reason for saving Chu Jing was simply that, after spending half a month with her, he realized she had remarkably good luck. She had obtained many benefits in this ruin. As the two continued to explore deeper, a peculiar small tree came into view. The tree had no leaves, but its branches bore a fleshy fruit emitting a strange light, a light as dreamy and mesmerizing as a mirage. Yuan's descended consciousness noticed that this tree bore some resemblance to the bald tree in the strange blessed land. A hint of excitement flashed in Chu Jing's eyes, and she eagerly reached out to pluck the fleshy fruit. However, just as her hand was about to touch the fruit, the living puppet clone swiftly acted like a ghost, intercepting her and preparing to take the Dao fruit. "You Dao soldier, how dare you openly snatch natural treasures? This is outrageous!" Chu Jing shouted angrily and flashed forward, intending to stop him. However, how could she be a match for a core profound realm level 6 living puppet Dao soldier? Just as they were deadlocked, a clear message suddenly echoed from the strange blessed land. Living puppet 426 has discovered a strange Dao fruit. Refining it will unlock new features in the strange blessed land. Upon hearing this message, Yuan's heart stirred slightly, and in that moment of distraction, Chu Jing saw an opportunity. She exerted her strength and lunged towards the fleshy fruit again. However, the moment her hand touched the Dao fruit, a brilliant light erupted beneath the tree, and a restriction-type mysterious array formation emerged. A powerful force instantly erupted, sending Chu Jing flying away like an ant. So it was a trap. "When did you become so kind, you living dead thing?" Chu Jing realized what had happened, thinking that 426 had noticed the problem and stopped her, but her expression suddenly changed. "No, this place is dangerous, run." The two quickly began searching for the exit of the underground chamber and swiftly departed. It must be said that Chu Jing's intuition was correct. Soon after, a figure appeared, the palace supplementing expert, Dragon Cry. Dot. Dao Soldier Peak, within the sect affairs hall, the atmosphere was somewhat gloomy. Chen Yang's clone began implementing a series of plans based on his scheme. He intended to take on some external missions, using the opportunity to quietly lead the original body, Yuan, away, while simultaneously initiating the assassination of the senior managing brother. After some deliberation, Chen Yang's clone selected a mission to go to the border of the corpse demon sect to exchange information with a demonic hidden agent. This mission had an extremely high risk factor, and ordinary disciples avoided it like the plague. Generally, when the time came and no one had taken it, it would be forcibly assigned, and there was absolutely no possibility of anyone volunteering. "Are you sure you want to accept this?" The disciple in charge of registration looked surprised. This mission was tantamount to suicide for everyone. In his view, only a fool would take it without hesitation. Indeed, it is the duty of his disciples to relieve the sect's worries and solve its problems. Chen Yang replied with a solemn expression and righteous words. HMPH, I see you are just a newly promoted outer sect disciple, new to this place, and have not yet figured out the tricks of the trade. Are you perhaps planning to betray the sect and take the opportunity to escape? The registration disciple sized up Chen Yang, looking as if he could see through everything. In fact, Chen Yang's clone naturally knew the tricks of the trade that the registration disciple mentioned. After all, most of the disciples here were bought, and, more or less, resented becoming demonic disciples. Chen Yang's clone naturally understood the key point that the registration disciple was implying. To this, he calmly replied, isn't it just a matter of cultivation techniques? I understand that if you don't cultivate, or if you lack the subsequent cultivation techniques, it will endanger your life. But I believe that the sect's actions are also for the convenience of management and are understandable. Your mother, utterly unreasonable. Upon hearing these words, the registration disciple's face instantly darkened, like the sky before a storm, filled with anger. This is the mission certificate, take it and get out. What bad luck. Seeing this, Chen Yang's mouth slightly curled up, revealing a faint smile. He understood the registration disciple's reaction, after all, anyone would curse when salt was rubbed into their wounds. He calmly accepted the certificate and turned to leave. Afterward, Chen Yang came to the market. The original body, Lu Yuan, wore a floor-length black robe, cleverly disguised as a Dao soldier. The two moved freely in the market, using the mission certificate to pass through the checkpoints and quietly left the corpse demon sect market, sneaking towards the border. Several days later, the forest dozens of miles outside the market was quiet and secluded. Lush branches intertwined, and sunlight filtered through the gaps, forming patches of mottled light and shadow. A group of people quietly appeared, led by the arrogant managing disciple, followed by a group of newly bought handyman disciples. As early as when this group approached, Lu Yuan had already sensed their presence with his keen senses. Chen Yang beside him narrowed his eyes slightly, preparing to step forward and greet the managing disciple. At the same time, Lu Yuan, hidden in the distance, formed hand seals, chanted incantations, and used the soldier controlling technique to control a living puppet. Although this living puppet was not very intelligent, under the control of Lu Yuan's powerful mysterious force, it was like a cold killing machine, ready to move at any moment. Senior brother, long time no see. Chapter 19, Steward. Chen Yang's voice was like a chilling wind from the depths of the nine hells, carrying a hint of coldness. At that moment, the supervising disciple was imperiously lecturing a mortal he was purchasing, completely unaware of Chen Yang's arrival. This sudden voice was like a thunderclap, startling him. He turned his head warily, and after seeing that it was Chen Yang, he was slightly taken aback, then relaxed and said arrogantly, "Oh, it's Chen Yang. What are you doing here?" "Haha, of course, I'm here to send senior brother on his way." Before the words faded, Chen Yang already held a dark long sword in his hand. In an instant, he unleashed the Extinction Righteousness sword technique. The sword shadows were like lightning, carrying the force of a tsunami as they swiftly stabbed towards the supervising disciple. The supervising disciple's expression changed drastically, and he was shocked. He never expected Chen Yang to dare attack him here. Due to the suddenness of the attack, he was caught off guard and failed to dodge in time. He was stabbed several times by the fierce sword energy, and blood splattered from the wounds like blooming red plums. Chen Yang had long since mastered the Extinction Righteousness sword technique, and its power was even more formidable. With his fourth level of the Gathering Profound Realm cultivation, he was actually able to suppress the supervising disciple, who was at the fifth level of the Gathering Profound Realm, leaving him with no power to retaliate. At the same time as Chen Yang's fierce attack, the chains binding the mortals who had been bought were struck by the sword energy and snapped apart with a crack. The mortals, regaining their freedom, awoke as if from a dream and scattered in panic, fleeing in all directions amidst the chaos. You dare to commit murder. Chen Yang, do you not want to live?" The supervising disciple roared in terror, his face filled with anger and unwillingness. In his panic, he suddenly pulled out a talisman. The talisman shone brightly, instantly unleashing a powerful force, like an invisible storm, that sent Chen Yang flying back several feet. However, Lu Yuan was already prepared. The moment the supervising disciple took out the talisman, the living puppet he controlled rushed forward like a ghost, reaching out its steel-like arm and grabbing the supervising disciple's wrist tightly. Then, with a twist, crack, the supervising disciple's wrist was broken, and the talisman fell from his hand. Chen Yang seized the opportunity, his figure flashed, like a bolt of black lightning, and he once again closed in, thrusting out the long sword in his hand. The supervising disciple's eyes widened, filled with disbelief and despair. Until the last moment of his life, he couldn't believe that a disciple would dare to openly kill him in the territory of the corpse demon sect. Chen Yang put away the dark long sword and began to methodically search the supervising disciple's body for items. At this moment, Lu Yuan lightly waved his sleeve, and more than a dozen mortals with different appearances filed out of the strange blessed land. Among the crowd, there was one person who looked exactly like the dead supervising disciple, as if they were carved from the same mold. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. Dao Soldier Peak, North Refinement Hall Miscellaneous Service Office. Supervising disciple, Qian Wei, returned swaggeringly, followed by a group of new miscellaneous service disciples. These disciples seemed somewhat different from the past, each with a cold expression and dull eyes. Qian Wei pretentiously stood in front of everyone, cleared his throat, and said, "Listen up, from today onwards, you are disciples of the Corpse Demon Sect's miscellaneous service. In a moment, I will teach you the body tempering art one by one, which is the basic cultivation method of our North Refinement Hall. Cultivate diligently, and you will definitely benefit in the future." After saying that, he hastily taught the body tempering art, and the newly purchased disciples were assigned to stone houses to begin cultivation. At this moment, in the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan frowned, his expression solemn. Controlling more than a dozen clones was indeed a difficult task for him, as if countless threads were pulling at his consciousness, causing him to feel a splitting headache and even a sense of schizophrenia. Fortunately, Lu Yuan sent 2 clones to the border of the Corpse Demon Sect, and Chen Yang's clone remained in the strange blessed land to assist Lu Yuan in controlling the clones. He also discovered a new way to use the strange blessed land. Using a split soul could also allow him to use the strange blessed land to descend his consciousness and control the clones. For these clones, Lu Yuan spent nearly half of his lifespan, creating a total of 15 clones, specifically leaving 2 in reserve for emergencies. The matter of impersonating the supervising disciple still ran into problems after only a few days. Comma comma, comma comma, comma comma. Miscellaneous Service Office. Elder Ma walked in with a gloomy face, followed by several serious-looking outer sect disciples. Elder Ma's eyes were sharp as he looked directly at Qian Wei. He questioned, "Qian Wei, why is your recent style of doing things so different from the past?" Qian Wei felt a tightening in his heart, and pretended to be calm as he said, "Elder Ma, this disciple does not know what you mean." Elder Ma snorted coldly, "HMPH, you still dare to quibble. From the time you brought back the new disciples last time, to your recent actions, everything is strange. You are not Qian Wei at all, you are clearly a spy sent by the righteous path." Qian Wei's face turned pale instantly, and he took out a long sword, preparing to commit suicide. Elder Ma waved his hand and quickly controlled him, then said without a doubt, "Take him down and torture him. If he doesn't confess, throw him into the corpse refinement platform. Also, send all those disciples he brought back last time to the corpse refinement platform, leave none behind." Several outer sect disciples who had followed him immediately took Qian Wei away. Qian Wei's clone was exposed, and after being tortured for a few days, he was forcibly escorted to the corpse refinement platform. However, all of this was actually done intentionally by Lu Yuan. He didn't know Qian Wei's memories or habits. So Qian Wei's clone would never be able to stay in the sect for long. Exposure was only a matter of time, but this way, the position of supervising disciple would naturally become vacant. Also on this day, Chen Yang's clone hurriedly returned to the sect. Hall of Sect Affairs, in the partitioned room. Chen Yang looked respectful and said to Elder Fang, "Elder Fang, I received a message from a demonic path spy that a strange Dao fruit was discovered in a good medicine hall in the northern area of the ruins, and it is currently being guarded by the Star Sword Sect's genius, Dragon Cry." Elder Fang was overjoyed upon hearing this and quickly asked, "Is the news reliable?" Chen Yang replied, "This news was passed on by the spy." Elder Fang was overjoyed and couldn't help but rub his hands together. If the news is true, there will be a great reward. After saying that, he left excitedly. A day later, Elder Fang summoned Chen Yang again. Elder Fang said with a smile, "The news you passed on is true, and the sect has decided to reward you. Tell me, what are your requirements?" Chen Yang smiled slightly and said respectfully, "This disciple dares to ask to serve as the supervising disciple of the miscellaneous service office." Elder Fang was slightly stunned, a look of contempt appearing on his face as he thought to himself, This outer sect disciple who rose from the miscellaneous service is indeed short-sighted. But he still waved his hand and said, "All right, I agree. Also, I will grant you the right to choose a profound art. Go." In this way, Chen Yang directly took office as the supervising disciple of the miscellaneous service office, mainly responsible for the task of purchasing miscellaneous service disciples. Originally, he thought he would need to bribe Elder Fang, and he had prepared 1,000 profound crystals, but now it seemed that he had saved them. In the strange blessed land. Cultivation points +1. Cultivation points +1. Cultivation points +1. Why did the cultivation points from these clones only stack for 3? Lu Yuan felt helpless at the cultivation points that were being transferred. There were now 14 of his clones in the corpse refinement platform. Now, clones were no longer a rare commodity for Lu Yuan, split souls were. With so much training, being able to control 3 clones was already the limit. If he continued to increase control, they would become dull and lose their spirituality, like puppets. It might be fine normally, but if something happened, there would inevitably be flaws. Could it be that the upper limit for absorbing cultivation points is related to the number of clones controlled? Lu Yuan immediately asked the strange blessed land. Rarely, the strange blessed land actually responded, and a message was transmitted. The absorption of cultivation points is determined by the number of clones the Blessed One can control. So that's how it is. At the moment of Gon Kai, another message came. Clone 744 has died. What? A clone died? This clone seems to be transformed based on that poor fellow. So, turning a clone into a living puppet Dao soldier is not 100% successful. Lu Yuan had gained a further understanding of the clones of the strange blessed land. Chapter 20 Blood Demon Coffin. But I have to say, the 3 clones steadily provide 10 cultivation points daily. With such a massive accumulation, reaching the 9th level of Juzan should only take a few months. HMPH, even those Zan cultivators with Tian Zan roots would probably find it hard to match this speed. After a slight pause, a glint flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes as he came up with a new plan. Since the number of clones is so considerable, the cultivation points provided to the Chen Yang clone must also be pushed to the limit. Let's make it 3 clones. As his thought landed, the strange blessed land seemed to receive the instruction. Instantly, the cultivation points given to the Chen Yang clone reached the limit that 3 clones could provide. Just then, Lu Yuan clearly felt the Zan power within his body surging violently like a tidal wave. An indescribable joy surged into his heart, and he couldn't help but shout excitedly. Haha, I've finally broken through to the 4th level of Juzan. At the same time, inside the scripture pavilion, Chen Yang was focused on selecting new Zan techniques. Noticing the sudden increase in cultivation points, his expression remained unchanged, and the corners of his mouth slightly lifted, as if he had expected it. After all, he and Lu Yuan were of one mind, and many things were naturally understood tacitly. Lu Yuan was flipping through one secret manual after another, his brows sometimes furrowed, sometimes relaxed. These demonic path cultivation methods truly have both advantages and disadvantages. He sighed softly, a hint of helplessness on his face. Most powerful spells are indeed astonishing in power, but the side effects are also truly terrifying, easily causing one to lose their mind. A slight carelessness can lead to eternal damnation. Suddenly, the Chen Yang clone's attention was drawn to a spell secret manual called Mind Division Technique, and he began to study it carefully. This spell can actually increase the operation of a Zan cultivator's brain, thereby achieving multitasking. It's truly incredibly wonderful. A hint of surprise flashed in Chen Yang's eyes, and he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. However, as he delved deeper into his research, Chen Yang's brows gradually furrowed, and a look of worry appeared on his face. It's just that this spell is too dangerous, easily causing the Zan cultivator's personality to split. A slight carelessness can lead to madness. Inside the strange blessed land, Lu Yuan fell into deep thought. After a long while, he slowly opened his mouth. Perhaps, I can let a split soul cultivate this technique and format it when it's about to go mad. Maybe I can retain the spell's realm and restore sanity. It's just, when can I obtain a split soul slot? He then casually asked, Strange blessed land, when can I obtain another split soul slot? Open black lens bracket. You can obtain another split soul slot in the late stage of Juzan or by refining strange items. Close black lens bracket. Hearing this sudden response, Lu Yuan was first stunned, then suddenly understood. Huh. It actually answered. It ignored me when I asked this before. It seems that my strength has indeed increased, so I'm qualified to know more abilities. Moreover, refining strange items can also obtain split soul slots, but it's too difficult to obtain strange items. Chu Jing and the clone seer Lu are still facing pursuit, and their chances of survival are slim. After discovering the strange Dao fruit, Chu Jing triggered the Zan formation, attracting pursuit, because Long Yinzi didn't want to reveal the specific location of the strange Dao fruit. But despite all his calculations, he still didn't know that Lu Yuan had already passed it to the corpse demon sect through the clone seer Lu. As for the clone seer Lu, even if he died, Lu Yuan would only feel heartache for his fate. After all, he couldn't do anything about it. At the Miscellaneous Affairs office, Chen Yang's clone moved back here after being promoted to manager. Fortunately, the manager is vastly different from ordinary handyman disciples, not only possessing a separate wooden house but also wielding considerable power. Chen Yang, as a newly appointed manager, received the task of purchasing handyman disciples. However, the corpse demon sect has suddenly stopped the war recently for some reason, and the demand for Dao soldiers has sharply decreased, so there is no need to purchase too many handyman disciples. Chen Yang took out a jade slip, which recorded the method of refining blood demon Dao soldiers. It is necessary to seal a Zan cultivator in a blood demon coffin, and then drive relatives with blood ties to irrigate it with fresh blood in order to refine it. At least 10 or more close relatives, blood is required to refine a blood demon Dao soldier in the middle stage of Juzan. This Dao soldier has the strength to fight beyond its level, enough to contend with Zan cultivators in the late stage of Juzan. However, it needs to be nourished with the blood of a blood-related relative every month to maintain its power. If 2 are used, its power can be improved. These refining conditions are indeed harsh, and even in the corpse demon sect, few disciples try to refine it. After all, blood relatives will eventually be exhausted. If you want to continue to maintain the blood demon Dao soldier, you also need to keep mortals in captivity. Lu Yuan, being in the demonic path, is used to such a cruel method of refining Dao soldiers. This blood demon Dao soldier seems powerful, but in fact has many limitations, like a tasteless and regrettable chicken rib. Although, according to the introduction, if it can be refined to the 9th level of Juzan, it can fight against Bu Gong experts, and even has the hope of awakening supernatural Zan techniques, it is too troublesome to cultivate. Chen Yang's clone pondered secretly, intending to put away the jade slip, but suddenly had a flash of inspiration. The clones are all born from the bald tree on the strange blessed land, and their bloodlines are exactly the same, which is closer than the blood of relatives. Perhaps it's feasible. Chen Yang made a decisive decision and got up to go to the Zan item hall. The Zan item hall is where outer sect disciples purchase and trade Zan cultivation resources from the sect. This place is bustling with people, and besides the sect affairs hall, this place has the most concentrated disciples. All kinds of rare cultivation Zan items are dazzling and overwhelming. Chen Yang stepped into the Zan item hall and saw a bustling scene with colorful lights intertwined and flashing. He walked straight towards the area where the Dao soldier coffins were stored. Here are placed all kinds of palm-sized coffins, each corresponding to a different method of refining private Dao soldiers. Moreover, the corpse demon sect has always relied on Dao soldiers to fight, so these coffins for refining private Dao soldiers are expensive, and the cheapest one also requires 500 Zan crystals, which ordinary outer sect disciples simply cannot afford. An executive disciple saw Chen Yang coming, with a lazy expression, and asked casually, "This junior brother, what do you want to buy? You should know that the price of these Dao soldier coffins is not low." Chen Yang smiled slightly and said, "Senior brother, I want to buy the blood demon coffin." Hearing this, the executive disciple couldn't help but sneer, and said with a hint of doubt, "Junior brother, don't joke here." "Senior brother, why do you say that?" Chen Yang's expression remained unchanged, and he casually took out 100 Zan crystals and gently placed them on the table. Seeing this, the executive disciple's eyes widened instantly. Seeing Chen Yang's serious face, his face was full of disbelief. There are not a few who know the refining method of the blood demon Dao soldier, but he has really met someone who came to buy the blood demon coffin for the first time. Even though the price of this blood demon coffin has already dropped to 100 Zan crystals, it is still unattended. Today, someone actually paid to buy it. After being surprised, the executive disciple instantly put on an enthusiastic smile, and hurriedly accepted the Zan crystals, saying, "Junior brother is really generous, I will get the coffin for you now." The executive disciple took out a palm-sized blood-red coffin and handed it to Chen Yang. Although this coffin looks small, it will naturally return to its normal size when used. Chen Yong took the blood demon coffin and asked casually, "Senior brother, is this blood demon coffin really unattended?" The executive disciple was secretly delighted. This blood demon coffin had been unsaleable for a long time. Now that it was sold, he also had a Zon crystal reward, so naturally he didn't want to spoil the deal, so he smiled and said, "I can't make a conclusion about this, after all, everyone's ideas are different." That's also true. By the way, senior brother must have stayed in the sect for a long time, right? Chen Yong continued to chat with the executive disciple. The executive disciple was in a good mood and didn't hide it, counting it, "I have been in this sect for almost 10 years. Through this conversation, Chen Yong learned that this Zon realm is vast and boundless, and the corpse demon sect is just a remote branch belonging to the Xuanming Holy Land, located in the western region. At this moment, Lu Yuan, who was in the strange blessed land, wanted to get more information from the executive disciple, to see if he could solve the Zon method's hidden dangers, but the executive disciple was always talking about the 10-year history of the corpse demon sect and his own observations. Obviously, he didn't know how to solve it. This demonic path cultivation method's hidden dangers made Lu Yuan feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. There is no danger now, but it doesn't mean there won't be any in the future. Perhaps I can explore the righteous path Star Sword sect, maybe I can find a solution. Previously, when accepting the demonic path secret agent mission, Lu Yuan sent 2 clones to the righteous path Star Sword sect, and those clones have not yet returned. He plans to let one of the clones join the Star Sword sect to find a solution to the hidden dangers of the body forging Zon method. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.